The bear didn't scare me. Tobias, standing barefoot next to the broken fence, did. He was 83 years old. The ground was hard with cold patches of ice. He held a small metal can that gave off smoke, as if he planned to face a huge animal by himself. "Tobias, put it down," I said. He looked at me, but didn't seem to know who I was yet. His eyes moved from my face to the gap in the fence and back again. "It came for the queens," he said. "The bear's gone," I told him. "It smelled the queens," he said again. "The hives are safe. Serena checked them." Tobias held the smoking can tightly with both hands. Behind him, 3 fence posts leaned toward the woods. The wire was flattened. One of the feed bins was tipped over, the lid bent. A bear had gotten through. I was sure about that. But my thoughts weren't what counted now. A dark car was parked near the barn. Gideon stood next to it, holding a folder under his arm. He wore a thick brown coat and had the look of a man who expected people to lie to him at some point. He had come only 20 minutes after I called the insurance office. That was fast for them. Too fast, if you ask me. Serena came out of the farmhouse carrying Tobias's boots. She was 24 and deaf. In the 6 years I had known her, she never spoke a word. Still, she communicated clearer than most people who talked all day. She put down the boots, moved to stand where Tobias could see her, and signed slowly. "Your feet are cold. Sit down. I checked the queens. They are safe." Tobias watched her hand signs. Some of the tightness left his shoulders. He tried to reply with an old sign that was a bit off, but close enough. "You saw them? Every hive?" He looked at me again. "Owen?" "Yes, it's me." "Why didn't you say so?" "I did." "No, you didn't." It was no use arguing with him. Some days, Tobias could remember exactly which queen line made the strongest winter colony in 1998. Other days, he forgot his wife had been gone for 11 years. I took the can from his hands. "Let's get your boots on." "I'm not a child." "I know. You talk to me like one." "I'm talking to you like a man standing outside without shoes." He looked down at his feet as if someone else had taken off his boots without asking. Serena gently touched his arm and signed that there was coffee ready inside. Tobias grumbled but let her lead him toward the house. Before she went after him, she looked back at me. "I will stay with him." I signed. "Thank you." Locked the back door. Her eyes looked toward the woods. "Is the bear still nearby?" "I don't think so." Serena gave me a look. She didn't like that answer. Neither did I. I changed what I said. "I don't know. Stay inside until I come back." She nodded once and went after Tobias. Gideon waited until the door closed. "Mr. Mercer." "Owen is fine. I prefer Mr. Mercer when I'm doing an inspection." "Then I guess we're not going to be friends." "I'm not here to make friends." "That makes 2 of us." He looked at the cigarette in my hand. "Does he always walk around like that during an animal problem?" "Tobias doesn't wander. He lives here." "That wasn't my question." "No. He doesn't always come outside barefoot to deal with bears." Gideon wrote something in his folder. I moved closer. "What did you write?" "That the resident seemed confused during the inspection. He has dementia. The insurance office already knows." I didn't say it mattered for the claim. You wrote it down. "I write what I see." That was Gideon's usual kind of reply. Correct, but annoying. He walked to the broken fence and crouched by one of the prints. "It rained yesterday," he said. "I noticed. This track isn't clear. The bear knocked down 3 posts. Something knocked down 3 posts. You think Tobias did it? I think the company needs proof before paying for repairs, lost feed, or possible bee damage. We haven't reported any bee damage." "Not yet." He stood and looked toward the hives. Our farm wasn't big compared to the commercial places Lance liked to brag about. We had the house, 2 barns, the extraction building, the seed bank, and some bee areas spread out. It was enough work for 4 people and 1 old man at home where he should be. But the farm had a big mortgage. Losing insurance could ruin us. The agreement said we had to keep agricultural insurance all the time. Lose that, and we'd lose the help that made paying the loan possible. Gideon knew this. That's why he could stand on my land and talk as if the bear needed to confess. "I have pictures," I said, "of the broken fence. And tracks. Only partial tracks. There's hair on the wire. I took it myself. Then what more do you need?" "Clear pictures would help." I looked toward the forest. An infrared trail camera was tied to an oak tree behind the shed. I had put it there after a bear took 2 feed containers last spring. It faced the animal path by the fence and also caught some of the shed's entrance. "The old camera," I said. Gideon followed my look. "How old?" 4 years. "Does it work?" "When it feels cared for." "That means no." "It means I haven't checked the memory card this week." "Then check it. I'm supposed to be helping my wife get ready for an event." Gideon closed his folder. "Your event isn't my problem. Your proof is." I looked at him. He looked back. The irritating man was right. Hazel had spent months working on the event. Reporters were coming. Buyers were coming. Vera Shaw, one of the most important food reviewers in the country, had agreed to come. Hazel told me everything was under control. She said I should focus on the bees and let her take care of the visitors. That was how we usually worked in our marriage. I knew about colonies, fermentation, soil, weather, and the many small things that could harm a farm. Hazel knew about deals, publicity, money, and how to be confident around rich people without showing need. I trusted her. It sounds silly now, but then it felt normal. I took out my phone and called her. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. "Hazel, Gideon's here. We had another bear problem. I'm going to check the trail camera card. Call me when you get this." I put the phone away. Gideon raised one eyebrow. "Problem? My wife's busy." "With the event?" "That's what I just said." "I heard you." There was something in his voice that annoyed me, but I didn't know why. "Wait here," I told him. "I'll check the storage building." "No." His eyes got sharper. "No? The floor in back is being fixed. If you step in the wrong spot, you could get hurt, and then I'll have more trouble." "Is the building being used?" "Not today." As far as I knew, that was true. I grabbed a flashlight from the utility truck and walked toward the trees. The forest edge was less than a quarter mile from the farmhouse. Beyond it, the land dropped down into Black Canyon, a part of the property Tobias had said we could not use years ago. Poisonous plants grew there. We kept the bee colonies far from that area. I had no plans to go near Black Canyon that night. The camera was on higher ground next to the path at the back. When I got there, the case was wet but not broken. The red light was blinking when I opened the cover. "Good camera," I said quietly. "You've earned another year." The card was inside. On the way back, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Hazel. "Can't talk. Meeting with the event team. Is Tobias okay?" I stopped under the trees and typed back. "He's fine. Fence isn't. Call me later." 3 dots showed, then vanished. No reply came. I put the card in my pocket and went back to the yard. Gideon had finished looking around. "I'll keep the claim open until tomorrow afternoon," he said. "Send the video before noon. And if the camera didn't catch anything, then I'll decide based on what I can see." "What does that mean?" "It means I haven't made up my mind yet." "Do you try to be hard to deal with, or does it come easy?" "I try to be correct." He gave me his card. "Before noon, Mr. Mercer." He left without a word goodbye. By the time Serena helped Tobias settle down, cleaned his scraped hand, and convinced him the queens were safe, it was almost 10 o'clock. Hazel still wasn't home. That was normal during launch week. At least I told myself it was. I sat at my desk, put the card in the computer, and opened the first video. A deer appeared. The next showed only branches moving in the wind. The third showed an owl landing close enough to see its big white eyes. "Okay," I said. "Gideon will like this." I kept watching. At 11:48 p.m., a bear came close to the fence. It stood up on its back legs, pushed on the wire, and knocked one of the fence posts loose. There it was. Proof! I should have stopped then. I should have copied the file, sent it to Gideon, and gone to bed. But my finger moved on the trackpad. The video jumped ahead 11 minutes. The bear was gone. A person appeared at the edge of the frame. The picture was green and fuzzy, but I knew the coat. It was the one I had bought Hazel for our anniversary. She crossed the path where the animals walked and headed to the storage shed. Then a second person appeared behind her. A tall man in a fancy coat. Lance. He put his hand on my wife's lower back. She didn't move it away. The door of the shed closed behind them. I didn't move. Then I moved the cursor back to the start of the video and turned the volume up. At first I only heard the wind. Then Hazel laughed. Not the polite laugh she used with reporters or investors. It was the laugh she used when she was truly happy. Lance spoke next. "You were right about the camera angle. It hardly shows the door. I told you Owen hasn't checked it in months." I stared at the screen. Hazel stepped closer to Lance. He kissed her. There was no mistake about it. No innocent reason to explain it. My wife held his face with both hands and kissed him back. I paused the video. "Fine," I said quietly. "You're seeing someone else." My voice was calm, but that scared me more than yelling would have. I pressed play again. They went inside the shed. The camera couldn't see through the wall, but the microphone kept working. Lance said, "After the launch, I want the full fermentation plan, not just his basic process. Every change in temperature, every culture, every little thing he changes when the batch doesn't go right." "He'll give it to you," Hazel replied. "He's been holding back some details. He doesn't think of it as hiding. Owen works by feel. Half the time, he doesn't realize his work is valuable for business." That hurt almost as much as the kiss. Almost. Lance laughed. "You married a useless fool. Don't underestimate him." "Are you standing up for him?" "I'm warning you. Owen is patient. That's not the same as being foolish. Patient men are easy. You give them a job, and they'll walk straight into the trap." There was a pause. Then Hazel said, "The trap has to stay closed until the job is finished. If he sees the final papers too soon, he might fight back. He signed the funding papers. He signed what I gave him because he trusted me." I leaned closer to the speaker. Lance's voice became softer. "And the stability rule? It's strong enough to scare him. If he leaves the project, stops work, causes a public problem, or challenges control before the debt is paid off, your company can speed up the loan payment. Immediate takeover? He could try to fight it, but he doesn't have the money to do that and keep the farm going. He'll give up before the first court date. And the rights to the work made? Every new improvement made with venture money belongs to the project group. Once he gives your engineers all the documents, you file the paperwork and keep the secrets safe." I covered my mouth. Not because I wanted to shout. It was because I felt sick. On the recording, Lance said, "Then you cut ties." "Yes." "And the old man?" "Tobias will have to go to professional care. Owen knows it's the best choice. He's just too emotional to admit it. He won't agree. He won't be able to say no." "And Serena?" "She's just an employee, Lance. We end her job. She can find work somewhere else." Serena had spent 6 years keeping breeding records that Tobias had written by hand long before Hazel was born. To Hazel, Serena was just an employee. Tobias was a problem. I was someone to get work done. Lance said, "Once the old ways are gone, we can build the new production facility on the north side. The farmhouse, too? If you still want it." Hazel waited a moment before answering. "No. Tear it down." Something inside me broke then. Not loudly. It felt like a rope snapping quietly in another room. Lance asked, "Any regrets? About the house? About him?" Hazel breathed out slowly. "I spent 5 years hoping Owen would want more. He is happy with the same fields, the same barns, the same people, and the same small life. He could have built something big, but he treats that farm like the dirt loves him back. He'll get through it. He always gets through it. And you? I'm tired of getting through things. I want to really live." Lance said something too soft for the microphone to pick up. Hazel laughed again. Then I heard them close. Something hit the old extraction table. Clothes shifted. The table made a deep wooden sound. I had built that table with Tobias. We had worked on our first special batch there. Serena had kept breeding records right next to it for 3 generations. Hazel and Lance were using it like something cheap and temporary. I didn't watch the shadow behind the shed window. I just listened. I made myself listen carefully to every word, every laugh, every sound. Not because I liked feeling bad, because shock tricks you. It makes you think you didn't really hear it right. It tells you there must be another reason. It wants you to look away before the truth stays forever. But I wanted the truth to stay clear. When the recording finished, I played it again, then a 3rd time. By the 4th time, I started writing things down. Contract details, process steps, debt warnings, names, Tobias, Serena, North Hillside, demolition, divorce after launch. I opened the file cards and copied all the important papers to my computer. Then I saved them on a new USB drive. After that, I made another copy and locked it with a password. My hands didn't shake then. That came later, when I tried to take the card out and missed the slot twice. I sat back and stared at the empty screen. "What now, Owen?" No one answered. I could go upstairs and wake Hazel when she came home. I could put the recording on the TV. I could call Lance and tell him I was on my way. I could call the police, a lawyer, The insurance company, the newspapers, every single person Hazel invited to celebrate what they took from me. Then I thought about the contract. I had trusted Hazel to explain it. Trusted her when she said the rules for investors were normal. Trusted her when she said the farm had to grow to stay safe for Tobias and Serena. Maybe she lied about all of it. Maybe one angry phone call was what they were waiting for. I needed facts before anger. That was the hardest choice I made that night. Not to get revenge, but to stay quiet. I took the USB drive to the old storage room. Under a loose wooden board near the files was a small waterproof safe on the floor. Tobias had put it there many years ago to keep land papers and other important papers safe. I put the USB drive inside, next to the old farm papers. Then I locked it up. Hazel came home at 1:17 in the morning. I heard her shoes in the hall. The bedroom door opened. "Owen?" I was lying on my side looking at the wall. "Yeah. You're awake?" "A bear broke through the fence." "Oh no. Is Tobias okay?" "He's fine." She took off her coat, the same coat from the video. "I'm sorry I couldn't call," she said. "Lance kept the event team late. Everything turned into a problem all at once." "I understand." She stayed still for a moment. Maybe she heard something in my voice. Maybe not. Then the bed shifted as she got in beside me. She touched my shoulder. I almost hurt her, but instead, I covered her hand with mine. "Get some sleep," I said. She kissed the back of my neck. Within 10 minutes, her breathing was slow and steady. I stared at the wall until morning. Hazel made pancakes. That was how she dealt with feeling sorry. She would cook. When she was late, she cooked. When she forgot something important, she cooked. When she wanted me to stop asking questions, she put some food in front of me and acted like butter could fix any problem. I sat at the kitchen table while she moved between the stove and counter, wearing one of my old shirts. 5 years ago, seeing her like that would have made me feel lucky. That morning, I wondered if she had worn the same shirt for Lance. "You look awful," she said. "Didn't sleep?" "I'm sorry I got home so late." "The event team kept you?" She looked at me. "For hours. Lance changed the guest order again. The place for the press is too small, and the caterer seems to think an agricultural event means we want food served on wooden spoons. Sounds hard. It was silly." She put a plate in front of me and kissed my forehead. I kept my hands under the table. "What did Gideon say?" "He wants the bear footage." "Did the camera get it?" "It got plenty." Her hand stopped by the syrup just for a moment. Then she smiled. "Good. At least one problem is solved." I cut into the pancakes. She watched me take the first bite. "Are they okay?" "They're pancakes. You usually like them." "I usually sleep." Hazel sat across from me. "Owen, I know the launch has been hard on you." "Has it?" "You don't like strangers coming onto the farm. You don't like investors changing how things are done. You don't like attention. I don't like people who don't understand the farm telling me how to run it. That's exactly what I mean. Lance is trying to help us grow. By changing my laboratory? Our laboratory." I looked at her. She corrected herself. "The project laboratory." There it was. A small change. A legal change. Yesterday, that place had been mine. Now it belonged to the project. I put down my fork. "I've been thinking about the future." Her smile came back. "Good. So have I. What happens to Tobias if something happens to me?" Hazel leaned back. "What kind of question is that?" "A simple one. You're 41 years old. 42 next month. Fine. You're 41 for another month and you're healthy. Nothing is going to happen to you." "That isn't an answer." She looked at my face. I didn't say anything. Finally, she said, "Tobias would be cared for. Here? If that is still the best place for him. And who decides what's best? We would decide it together." "We? You and me." I almost laughed. Instead, I nodded. "And Serena? What about her? She has built the genetics archive into something no other farm in the state has. She should have a lasting role in the operation. An employee ownership plan? Maybe." Hazel's smile tightened. "That would need to be talked over with Lance." "Why?" "Because the project has rules. It's my farm. Our farm." "The project farm?" I asked. She was quiet. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. "Owen, listen to me. I know this is scary. You've spent your whole life believing that protecting the farm means keeping it just like Tobias left it. But we're not taking anything away from him. We're making sure his work lasts. By giving Lance control? I asked. By accepting that knowledge and money have to work together. You know bees better than anyone I know. Lance knows how to manage big things, and I understand people and business. That doesn't make any of us less important. And Serena? She would always have a place if she wanted to stay. And Tobias? He would never be forgotten. She said it clearly. No doubt. No awkwardness. She looked right into my eyes and promised to care for the two people she planned to remove. I finally saw what made her dangerous. It wasn't that she could lie. Many people can lie. Hazel could lie while still remembering how much the truth meant to you. I squeezed her hand. I needed to hear that. Her whole body relaxed. Of course you did. You'd protect them, even if we weren't together? The softness left her voice. Not fully. Just enough. Why wouldn't we be together? I said if. And I'm asking why you think that way. People die. People leave. Things change. Are you thinking about leaving me? She sounded surprised. That was surprising. I shook my head. No. Then don't talk like that. We have enough problems without you creating new ones. I'm not creating anything. She pulled her hand back. For months, I've worked every hour I could to bring attention and funds to this place. I've sat through meetings with men who see honey as just a number, and your life's work as something to sell because I'm trying to protect our future. Then I come home, make you breakfast, and you start asking if I plan to leave an old man and a young woman who have been part of our lives for years. That's not what I said. It's what you made me feel. There it was. She had taken my question and made it sound like I was blaming her. I let it pass. I'm sorry. Hazel sighed. I need you to trust me. I looked at the woman I had shared my life with for 5 years. Her hair was tied back, no makeup. She looked tired but warm and familiar, and quietly hiding something. I do, I said. A car moved over the gravel outside. Hazel turned to the window too fast. A black SUV stopped near the farmhouse. Lance stepped out, wearing a neat coat and the calm smile of a man who already thought the place was his. Hazel stood up. He's early. Looks like it. Owen, please don't make today hard. We need him on our side. I stood up from the table. What would I do without Lance's support? She either didn't hear the question or didn't want to answer. He wants to look over the work schedule and check the changes in the lab. Of course he does. I began to walk toward the front door. Hazel grabbed my arm. Are we okay? She asked. For a moment, I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to see her calm face change when she realized I had heard all of it. But then I thought about Tobias standing barefoot by the fence. I thought about Serena's files. I thought about the debt tied to the land. I placed my hand over Hazel's. We're fine. She smiled. Outside, Lance climbed the porch steps. I opened the door before he could knock. Owen, he said, ready to make history? I smiled at him, even though I didn't like him. More than you know, I said. Lance smiled like I gave him a compliment. Good. I need that kind of spirit from you. He stepped inside without waiting. Hazel came into the hall straightening her shirt. Lance looked at her a little too long. Before I saw the trail camera footage, I might not have noticed. Now I noticed everything. Where his eyes went, how fast she smiled, how she stood between us without seeming to pick a side. Coffee? She asked him. I've already had 3 cups. You'll want another when Owen sees the new lab plan. Lance laughed. I didn't. What new plan? Hazel looked at me. We were going to talk about it together. Looks like we're already together, Lance said. He pulled out a rolled-up paper from under his arm and spread it on my kitchen table, right over my half-eaten pancakes. The syrup touched the paper. He frowned at me as if I had ruined it. This area will be for quality control, he said, pointing to the east side of the extraction building. The storage wall comes down here. We put the testing equipment here. Fermentation moves to the back section. No. I looked up. It was the first honest word I had said to him that morning. Hazel stepped closer. Owen, the back section doesn't keep the right temperature. We'll add climate control, Lance said. You can add whatever you want. That section still sits above an old drainage channel. Water comes in after heavy rain. My engineers looked at the building. Your engineers walked through it for 40 minutes in clean shoes. Lance's smile disappeared. They know what they're doing. So do I. Hazel crossed her arms. Can we please talk about this without turning it into a battle? This isn't a battle, I said. It's my lab. Lance tapped the plans with one finger. This facility is now partly paid for by my company. Paid for doesn't mean owned. His eyes moved to Hazel. She said nothing. That said enough to me. Lance rolled the paper back up. We'll go over the details after the walkthrough. There won't be a walkthrough. Owen, Hazel said softly. Don't start. That almost made me laugh. She had set up a financial problem that could ruin my home. She planned to send Tobias to a care center, fire Serena, take my work, and tear down the farmhouse. But this time, I was ready to act. I looked at Lance. If you want to see the production area, ask me first. You don't just walk around my property like you own it. His face turned serious. I don't need permission to check an asset that protects my investment. There it was again. Asset, not farm, not home, not the place Tobias had taught me to watch and learn about bees. Just an asset. Hazel stepped between us. Lance, give us a minute. He looked at his watch. I'll wait outside. He went through the back door without waiting for it to be opened. Hazel listened until the door clicked shut, then turned to me. What was that about? A conversation? No, that was you being bossy and rude to the man who keeps this farm running. I thought I was the one keeping it running. You make honey. That doesn't mean you understand the money side. I leaned on the counter. Then explain it to me. She paused a little. I noticed. You know about our debts. I know what you told me. What do you mean by that? I want to read the agreement again. Her face changed. Not scared, but thinking carefully. Why? Because Lance called this farm an asset that protects his investment. It is. And you didn't correct him, because he was right. Then get me the contract. Owen, we don't have time today. We had time for him to be inside my lab, but not enough time for me to read the paper that lets him do that? She lowered her voice. He can't hear us arguing. Why? Do you think he'll feel bad? I think it will make us look weak. That word hit me differently after the recording. Weak. Stability rules, public problems, messy management. I showed just enough anger so she would think she'd explained me. Get me the contract. It's in the office cabinet. Thanks. She grabbed my wrist as I walked past. Don't do anything stupid. I looked at her hand, the same one that had touched Lance on my table. What do you call stupid? Threatening him, saying no to him without cause, letting someone who doesn't understand the agreement fill your head with bad ideas. That's a very specific list. I know you. No, I said. You really don't. She let go. I took the thick agreement from the locked cabinet in the office. It was so heavy and complicated it could stop a small bullet, and written in words that made normal people feel dumb if they weren't lawyers. Hazel followed Lance outside while I took the papers upstairs. From the office window, I watched them walk toward the extraction building. Lance walked close to her. Hazel moved away for a moment, then looked back at the house. She didn't see me behind the curtain. A minute later, his hand touched her lower back. That answered one question. They still thought I couldn't see. I spent the next 2 hours reading. The words mixed together in my mind. Operational continuity, material disruption, key people, reputation risk, acceleration rights, security interest, process improvements, project-owned ideas. Most of the words seemed normal enough to hide the tricky parts. Hazel had hidden small traps in paragraphs no one expected to cause trouble. I called 3 lawyers. The first wanted to know every name involved before talking. The second worked for one of Lance's companies. The third said I could have a meeting in 9 days. 9 days felt like forever. I looked outside the county and found a lawyer in a town nearly an hour away. I told the receptionist it was about farm debt and ownership of ideas. She said the lawyer had 20 minutes before going to court. I drove there without telling Hazel. The office was above a pharmacy. The lawyer was a woman in her 60s with gray hair, slim glasses, and little patience for small talk. I put the agreement on her desk. She read the marked parts twice. Then she looked at me. Did you have your own lawyer when you signed this? No. Why not? My wife looked at it. Is she a lawyer? No. That was a bad idea. I figured that out. She pushed the agreement toward me. This doesn't stop a divorce. Can a divorce cause a problem with the loan? Not by itself. But if it causes fights about who owns what, stops the business from running well, hurts its reputation, or makes you stop helping out, the investment group can say there's a big problem and ask for all the money right away. Yes. How fast? They can ask for payment immediately. Selling the property still needs legal steps, but if you can't fix the problem or get a court order, you will lose money each day while the business struggles. I don't have that kind of money. I figured you didn't. Agreements like this usually aren't made for people who can afford to fight back. I pointed to the part about process ownership. What about my fermentation method? Her lips pressed tightly. Any improvement that uses their money or support belongs to the company they invested in. I made the method before Lance got involved. Can you prove which parts were there before they joined? Tobias keeps records. Serena has the gene samples. I have notes. Are the records dated? Yes. Keep them safe. I felt a small relief for the first time that day. So they can't take it away. I didn't say that. I said you might have a way to protect it. A defense is not the same as safety, she said as she turned another page. You are listed as key technical staff. If you stop working without a good medical reason, they can claim the project has failed. If you block approved people from seeing the project, they can say you are causing trouble. If you make public claims that hurt their funding but can't prove them right away, they can use a rule about protecting their reputation. What if the claims are true? I asked. The truth helps later in a court case, she answered, but it might not stop them from putting pressure on you at the start. I leaned back. What if I call the police? For what? She asked. I couldn't say. Not yet. Fraud. If you have proof of a crime, keep it safe and talk to a criminal lawyer. But know this, once things are made public, the company might still take action. They could be wrong, but still push back hard. So my choices are stay quiet or lose everything. No. Your choices are more complex than that. They don't seem that way. She took off her glasses. Mr. Mercer, unfair contracts work because scared people think urgent pressure is the final word. This agreement gives them power. It doesn't make them all powerful. Can I stop them from changing my lab? Maybe. But not by just arguing. You need papers that show real risks to the building, proof about the inventions you had before, and proof if they acted badly. I thought about the USB hidden under the archive floor. What if I have proof? Then make copies. Keep them where your wife and investor cannot get them. Don't change the originals. Don't threaten anyone with them until you know exactly what they show. My wife. She had been mentioned without knowing it. I stood up. What do I owe you? She told me a price. I paid in cash. At the door, she said, one more thing. I turned around. If you are angry enough to do something sharp, don't. Is that legal advice? That's from someone who has seen people destroy the only thing they tried to save. When I got back, 2 trucks were parked next to the extraction building. Lance was inside my lab with a tape measure. Hazel was near him. Blue marks covered the floor. What is this? I asked. Lance didn't look up. Preparation. For what? The renovation team starts Monday. I looked at the blue lines crossing the floor Tobias and I had poured together. Hazel watched me closely. I knew what she wanted me to do. Shout, threaten, refuse. Give Lance the chance he needed to cause trouble. I took off my coat and hung it on a hook. Move the fermentation room to the west wall, I said. Lance looked up. What? The west wall. If you put it over the drainage, you will lose control of the temperature and spoil the batch. For the first time, he looked unsure. Then he smiled. There he is. I walked past Owen, who called me the cooperative Owen. I wanted to hit him against the wall, but I didn't. Instead, I picked up the tape measure. Tell your team to stay away from my Queen records. Lance patted me on the shoulder. I didn't move his hand away. At that moment, I knelt down. Not because he had won over me, but because I finally saw the trap. Lance's engineers showed up Monday morning at 7. There were 5 of them. All wore brand new boots. That said a lot. Anyone who worked with Honey for long wouldn't wear new boots inside the extraction building. New boots meant a quick way to ruin them. The lead engineer, Clark, introduced himself. He was thin, clean-shaven, and held a tablet as if it gave him power over everything. We will start with your fermentation schedule, he said. No, I answered. He looked at Lance. Lance stood behind him with Hazel. Hazel gave me a warning look. I kept going. You will first wash your hands, take off your watches, put on hair covers, and stay behind the yellow line until I say otherwise. Clark looked down. What yellow line? The one you are standing on. He stepped back. Lance sighed. Owen, we don't have time for this fight over space. This is not about space. That room holds active cultures. One careless move can ruin 3 weeks of work. Clark said, our cleaning rules are better than the usual farm rules. Good for you? Now follow mine. Hazel stepped forward. Owen, they're here to learn. Then the first lesson should be how not to ruin the product. Lance looked at Clark. Do it his way. Clark didn't like it. Hazel didn't like it, but I did. For the next 3 hours, I showed them part of the process. Not everything, just enough. I talked about how to grade raw honey, which moisture levels to watch, how to pick cultures, the steps of fermentation, and why 2 batches made with the same ingredients might act differently. Clark kept asking for exact numbers. I kept giving him general answers. What is the exact temperature change at 36 hours? He asked. Depends on the culture's activity. How do you tell that? I watch it. Watch what? The batch. That can't be measured. It can, if you know what to look for. He turned to Lance. This is the problem. The process depends on the worker's experience, not on written rules. Lance looked at me. Then write it down. You want me to write down what I see with my eyes? I want every key decision noted. Some decisions happen because the foam looks wrong. Others happen because the room cooled down overnight. Some happen because the bees fed from a different flower. You can write down the numbers, but the numbers don't explain why they changed. Clark shook his head. With enough information, we can create a model. Then create it. We need you to help. You already have it. No, Hazel said. He's just pretending. I looked at her. Am I? You know exactly what Lance wants. Does Lance even know what he wants? Her face tightened. Lance stepped between us. We won't spend all day on this. Owen, you will tell us every ratio, every time frame, and every change you make. Clark will write it down. If you can't turn your decisions into a clear guide, then you will explain them until you can. And if I say no? The room went silent. Hazel spoke before Lance. Then things won't work. She said it softly, like she was reminding me to take my medicine. Clark looked from her to me. He didn't understand. I did. So that's where we stand, I said. Hazel stepped closer. We are shaping the future. No, you're standing behind a rich man while he makes your husband explain all his hard work. Lance's jaw moved. Owen, I kept my eyes on Hazel. Are you proud of this? She lowered her voice. Don't embarrass me in front of the team. I laughed softly. That surprised her. You brought 5 strangers into my lab just to take everything useful from my mind, and you worry I might embarrass you? We aren't taking anything from you. Clark stared at his tablet. The other engineers looked at the walls. No one wanted to meet our eyes. Hazel said, You will still be the face of the product. There it was. Not the owner, not the creator. The face. A decoration to put on a label until I became a problem. Lance folded his arms. Will you cooperate? I could feel the old me waking inside. He wanted to throw them all out. He wanted to take Hazel upstairs, play the recording, and ask when she had decided Tobias should be put away and Serena left behind. That man would have lost everything before noon. I looked at Clark. Open a new file. He lifted his tablet. I began. I gave them ratios, timing details, warning signs, ways to fix problems. I talked for almost 2 hours while Hazel watched. Lance's face changed as he heard more. At first he seemed impatient, then interested, then eager. He knew the process was important. He didn't realize how much knowledge was in it. When I finished the first part, Clark said, This will take weeks to write down properly. Lance smiled. We have him. I heard it. So did Hazel. She looked at Lance, then quickly at me. He tried to fix what he said. We have Owen's full cooperation. Of course you do, I said. At noon, Lance ordered lunch to be brought into the lab. I told them they couldn't eat inside. He called me difficult. I told him food crumbs bring pests. Clark agreed with me. That bothered Lance more than when I said no earlier. By 3 o'clock, the engineers had taken over my office. They put labels on my equipment and attached temporary tags to tools Tobias had owned for 40 years. One tag hung from his old refractometer. I took it off. Clark said, Everything needs a number. That's not part of the project, I said. It's used in the process, Clark replied. It belonged to Tobias before your project even started. We can note that it was owned before, Clark said. Just leave it alone, I told him. Lance came around the workbench. Put the tag back. No. His security guards were not with him that day. He didn't need them. The contract was here with us. Hazel touched my elbow. Owen, please. No. She let go. Lance picked up the tag and tied it back to the refractometer himself. He did it slowly. He wanted me to watch. So I did. Then I said, If Clark compares it to the digital one, he'll see it reads too high by 4/10 in cold weather. Clark looked at me. You knew it was wrong? I know exactly how wrong it is. Then why keep using it? Because Tobias taught me on it, and I know how it works. Clark looked at the instrument with new respect. Lance did not. To Lance, it was just old metal. To me, it was Tobias's way of guiding me, showing me not to trust numbers until I understood the machine giving them. Lance put a tag on a memory. That afternoon, Gideon came back. He walked into the lab without taking off his coat and stopped when he saw the broken storage wall. "What happened here?" Lance answered. "We improved the facility." Gideon looked at him. "And you are?" "Lance, main investor." "I'll need your full legal name and who approved this work." Lance smiled. "You can get that from my office." "I'm here in the building," Gideon said. "Then you'll have to wait." Gideon opened his folder. "Was a safety review done before this wall came down?" Clark said. "It wasn't a load-bearing wall." "That's not my question." I almost smiled. Gideon walked to the open floor at the back. Blue chalk lines crossed the old drainage channel. He crouched and touched the concrete. "This is damp." "I told them," I said. Lance turned toward me. Gideon noticed. "What did you tell them?" "That the back part takes in water after heavy rain." "Is there a report about that?" "It's in the maintenance records." Hazel stepped forward. "The renovation includes controlling moisture." "Has a permit been issued?" Gideon asked. Lance lost his calm. "This is a private farm. We made internal changes." "That doesn't answer my question." "You're an insurance inspector, not a building official." "Correct. And changes without approval can affect coverage." Hazel looked pale. That was the first thing Gideon said that really scared her. Lance stepped closer to him. "Are you saying you might cancel the farm's insurance?" "I'm saying I will check if the risk has changed a lot." The farm passed the inspection. "That was before the wall was taken down." Gideon took pictures. Lance looked at me as if I had called him. I hadn't, but I knew this was important. Gideon didn't care about my marriage or personal matters. He cared that a wall was gone, the floor was wet, and important people wanted him to ignore it. That made him someone Lance did not like. "Mr. Mercer," said Gideon, "I need copies of the maintenance records." "I'll get them." "Give them directly to me," Hazel said. "I handle the files." Gideon looked at her. "I asked Mr. Mercer." Lance stepped forward again. "I think this inspection should end now." Gideon closed his folder. "No, I think it's just starting." He gave me a formal paper and then left. Lance waited for the door to close. "What did you tell him?" "About what?" "The work on the building." "You were standing here." "Before today." "I didn't know the wall was going to be taken down before today." Hazel said, "That's true." Lance looked at her sharply. She had stood up for me without thinking, or for herself. Probably for herself. He took the paper from my hand and read it. "This means nothing." "Then you have nothing to worry about," I said. He looked at me carefully. "You seem happy." "I'm always happy when experts write down what they find." Clark looked down, pretending to fix his tablet. Lance gave back the paper. "Keep checking the process." The engineers went back to their work. I returned to my bench, but something had changed. Lance was still in my lab. Tobias's tools still had tags on them. Hazel was still there, next to him. But for the first time since I saw the recording, I noticed a small opening in the trap. Not a way out, not yet. Just a small crack. And Gideon made that crack with his camera and his papers. Lance started staying for dinner the next night, then the night after that. By the fourth night, he didn't ask if it was okay. He would finish work with the engineers, walk into the farmhouse, take off his coat, and sit at my table like he had always belonged. Hazel was happy about it. "We work late anyway," she said the first time. "It's easier than driving back to town." The second time, she said, "He needs to learn about how the farm works." By the fourth time, she didn't say anything. That night, Tobias was clear enough to know he didn't like Lance, but not clear enough to remember why. He sat across from him and stared. Lance cut a piece of roast. "Is there a problem?" Tobias looked at me. "Who invited him?" Hazel put down her fork. "Tobias, Lance is our business partner." "No, he is." "No, he isn't." Lance smiled without warmth. "What am I then?" Tobias pointed toward the door. "Leaving." Serena looked down, trying to hide a small smile. I saw it. So did Lance. He turned toward her. "Something funny?" Serena looked at me. "I signed. He asked you a question." She answered. Tobias said what he meant. Lance looked at Hazel. "What did she say?" Serena's face changed. Not a lot, but enough. Hazel understood some sign language. Not very well, but enough. She said Tobias is confused, Hazel said. Serena's hands moved quickly. That's not what I said. Hazel ignored her. I didn't. She said Tobias meant what he said. Lance leaned back. Well, at least someone is honest. Hazel looked at me. I cut another piece of meat. Lance reached toward the middle of the table and picked up the Royal Reserve bottle. My fork stopped. Tobias's bottle, I said. Lance looked at the glass. The reserve had been sealed 6 years ago. From the last full season Tobias managed alone. We didn't sell it or serve it to guests. On Tobias's birthday, I sometimes opened it just enough so he could smell it. Memories live in strange places. For him, some lived in that bottle. Lance took off the stopper. Tobias stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. No. Lance looked at him. It's honey. Put it back. Hazel reached for Tobias. It's okay. He pulled away from her. No, it's not. I held out my hand. Give me the bottle. Lance poured a line of honey across his roast. Then he picked up my glass and drank from it. Not his glass, mine. He knew. Maybe not what the bottle meant, but enough to understand I said no. He wiped honey off his thumb. Good, he said. A bit old. Tobias made a deep sound in his throat. Serena stood and moved to his side. I kept watching Lance. You opened a bottle that wasn't yours. He put it on the table. I'll buy another one. No, you won't. Everything has a price. Tobias doesn't. The room got quiet. Lance looked at Tobias like he was checking broken tools. I wasn't talking about Tobias. You never are. Hazel's voice got sharp. Owen, stop. I looked at her. Stop what? This anger. Lance is a guest. A guest waits to be offered something. He made a mistake. No. A mistake is mixing up salt and sugar. He was told not to touch it, but he did because he likes showing he can. Lance smiled. At least you're starting to understand me. Hazel stared at him. For a moment, even she looked uneasy. Then I noticed something under the table. Lance's shoe moved. I didn't see it at first, but Serena did. Her eyes went down. Lance's foot slid along Hazel's ankle. Hazel's shoulders got tense, but she didn't move away. His shoe moved higher. Serena froze. She looked at me, then at Hazel, then back at me. Panic showed on her face, worse than anger. She thought I didn't know. She thought she had just seen something that could hurt me. I signed quietly under the edge of the table, keeping my movements small. I know. Her eyes got wide. I added, Stay quiet. Please. She looked at my hands. Why? I couldn't say it with them around. I signed again, Tobias. Farm. Later. Serena's face grew hard. She wasn't agreeing or trusting me. She sat down because Tobias needed her. That hurt. I had spent years making sure no one thought her silence meant okay. Now I was asking her to use that silence for me. Hazel pulled her leg away from Lance and stood up. I'll bring dessert. I'm done, I said. Lance lifted my glass again. You barely ate. I lost my appetite. He drank. I wanted to break the glass on him. Instead, I helped Tobias upstairs. In his room, he held my sleeve tight. He drank it. I know. That was the last one. I know. I told him. You did. Tobias looked scared. Why didn't you stop him? There was no answer he would understand. I barely understood it myself. I should have, I said. His eyes cleared a bit. Not fully, but enough. You're letting him take things. Those words hit me harder than any rude thing Lance said. I'm trying to keep the farm. Tobias shook his head. A farm isn't just land. What is it? The things you don't let people take. Then the clear moment went away. He looked around. Where's Evelyn? My throat grew tight. She's not here. She said she'd bring my coat. I'll get it. Serena stood in the doorway. She had seen everything. After Tobias settled, she followed me into the hall. Her hands moved quickly. How long have you known? Since the bear. The camera? I nodded. You saw them? I heard everything. She stared at me. And you let him sit there? I'm trying to protect you and Tobias. By making us watch. I had no answer. Her hands slowed. Does Hazel know you know? No. Does Lance? No. Are we in danger? That question stopped me. I could lie to Hazel. I could lie to Lance. But not to Serena. Yes. She looked toward Tobias's room. What should I do? Stay near Tobias. Back up the archive. Keep copies outside the main building. Do not confront Hazel or Lance. What are you doing? Trying to find a way out. She held my eyes. That is not the same as answering me. Then she went into Tobias's room and closed the door. Lance stayed downstairs until after 11. Hazel told me he was checking press notes. I went to the workshop. At midnight, I came back to the house through the mudroom. The living room light was off. Voices came from inside. Hazel said, "He's changing." Lance answered, "He's tired." He asked about Tobias and Serena. He wanted to know what would happen if we weren't together. "Did you tell him?" "Of course not. You're nervous." "I'm careful." Lance laughed softly. "You weren't careful under the table." "Serena saw. She can't tell anyone." My hand clenched on the door frame. Hazel said, "She can write." "Then fire her." "It's too soon." "You keep saying that." "Because you act like you already own everything." "I will." There was a small movement. Hazel said, "Not here." Lance replied, "He's in the workshop. He could come back." "He won't." I stepped into the living room. Hazel pulled away from him. Lance stayed seated. His shirt collar was loose. Hazel's lipstick was on his mouth. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Then I noticed the bottle on the table. "More wine?" Hazel was the first to answer. "We were going over the speech." "In the dark?" The light hurt my eyes. "Must be hard work." Lance stood up. "We're done." "I'm sure you are." He walked toward me and stopped close enough to smell Hazel's perfume on him. "Tomorrow, 6 o'clock." "For what?" "The VIP batch. I start when the cultures are ready." "You start at 6. He waited for me to argue. I stepped aside. "Drive carefully." His smile came back. He left. Hazel stood near the sofa. "Owen." "I'm tired." "You saw nothing." The words almost made me laugh. She had slipped up without meaning to. I looked at her. What did I see? Her mouth opened, then closed. I passed by her and went back to the workshop. On the bench lay a beeswax carving knife with a thin steel blade. I picked it up, held it against the sharpening stone, pulled it back once, then again, slowly. That blade had nothing to do with honey that night. The next morning, I arrived at my own lab at 6. Lance was already there. He stood by the fermentation tanks, drinking coffee. Clark checked a schedule on his tablet. "You're late," Lance said. The clock showed 5:58. "I'll try to be better." Hazel stood behind him, wearing a cream-colored suit that did not belong near the production room. She smiled at me. "Today is important." "They all are." "This batch is different." "No, the people watching it are different." Lance handed me a printed schedule. "We have 12 days before the launch. The Founder's Reserve must be ready for the host tasting. The main batch must be stable for the press and shipment samples." I looked over the paper. "You set filtration too early." "Clark approved it." Clark cleared his throat. "Based on the data you gave." "The culture won't care what your schedule says." Lance put down his coffee. "Then fix the schedule." I handed it back. "I just did." That's how the next 12 days started. I worked 16 hours on the shortest day. Most were longer. Lance's team watched everything. They watched me as I checked the fermenters, adjusted the flow, waited before tasting a sample, and even noticed how fast the bubbles were moving. Clark asked questions until his voice became part of the background noise. "Why did you lower the temperature?" "Because the activity increased." "How did you measure that?" "Look at the foam." "We need a number." "You have 6 sensors. They don't show much change." "Then your sensors are slow." "How can you be sure?" "Because I can see it." He didn't like that answer. 3 days later, he stopped arguing and just watched. Lance didn't. He wanted control in the form of printed papers to sign and own. On the 4th day, Lance brought 2 more engineers. On the 5th, Hazel moved a desk into the observation room. On the 6th, she started introducing me to visitors as our master producer. Not founder, not owner, just producer. I stood next to her while she spoke to a group from Lance's company. "Owen's methods are traditional," she said, "but we're turning them into a modern system." One executive asked, "How hard will it be to train new workers?" Hazel answered before I could. "That's what the documentation phase will find out." I looked at her. She kept smiling. The executive said, "No offense, Owen, but every business needs backup." "None taken." He looked relieved. Then I said, "People say that just before they confuse backup with ignorance." Hazel's smile got tighter. After they left, she caught me near the storage shelves. "You can't insult investors?" He insulted me first. He asked a normal question. He asked how fast I could be replaced while standing right here. You need to stop treating every business talk like a personal attack. You need to stop acting like personal attacks become business talks when rich men use polite words. She stepped closer. I am trying to save us. From what? From staying small forever. There it was. Not debt, not risk, small. Hazel wasn't saving the farm. She was trying to escape its shame. I lowered my voice. Did you ever love this place? She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, I loved you. Past tense. Maybe she didn't mean for me to hear it, but I did. On the 7th day, Tobias walked into the lab carrying his old veil. Serena followed behind him. She signed something and he insisted. Tobias looked at the engineers. Who are these people? Students, I said. Clark looked upset. Tobias didn't seem to mind. Bad students. Some of them. He went to the closest fermenter and placed his hand on it. Lance came in behind him. He can't be here. Tobias looked back. You again. Lance turned to Hazel. Why is he allowed in an active production area? Because he built half of it, I said. That doesn't make it safe. He taught me the rules. But he has dementia. Tobias looked at him hard. I remember you're not a good man. Clark coughed into his hand. Serena looked down. Even Hazel almost smiled. Lance did not. Get him out. I stepped between them. He can stay for 5 minutes. This is not a nursing home. The mood in the room changed. The engineers all focused on the machines. Hazel said, Lance. He did not answer. This is a commercial place with rules. We can't let confused people walk around just because Owen feels kindly. Tobias's face went blank. Not confused. Hurt. I moved closer to Lance. You will not talk about him like that. Then stop being a risk. Hazel took my arm. Owen, the batch. That seemed to be the answer to everything. The batch, the debt, the future, the cage. I looked at Tobias. Come with me. I'll show you the extra samples. His focus returned. Extra? On the top shelf. He followed me. For 5 minutes, he was himself again. He smelled the samples, rejected some, approved others. Clark watched as Tobias found a fault in the process that no sensor had caught. After Tobias left with Serena, Clark whispered, How did he know? He listened. To what? To the honey. Clark stared at the sample. For once, he didn't want numbers. On the 8th day, I slept only 3 hours. On the 9th, 2. By the 10th, my hands hurt so much I had to hold them under hot water before I could move my fingers. Hazel found me there. She came into the bathroom and closed the door. You need to rest. I need to finish the batch. Clark can watch over things for a few hours. No. He understands the process now. No. He understands the notes. She touched my back. I almost moved away. Almost. But I let her hand stay. You're doing something amazing, she said. I've done it before. Not at this size. For you? For us. I turned off the water. She wrapped her arms around me. She pressed her cheek against my shoulder. For a weak moment, my body remembered her. The woman who used to bring coffee to the hives. The woman who held my hand when Tobias had his first doctor visit. The woman who once said she wanted to be buried where she could hear the bees. Then I thought of the extraction table. I remembered her words. Tear it down. She kissed me. Slowly. Gently. It was the hardest thing she had done since the recording. When she pulled away, she smiled. That's your reward. For what? For working with me. Her words took away whatever weakness I had left. I wiped my hands on a towel. I should go back. She looked upset, then worried. Owen, what? Do you still love me? Some people ask this to hear the truth. Hazel asked to feel the risk. I touched her face. Yes. The lie was easier than I thought. She kissed the palm of my hand. After the launch, things will settle down. I'm sure they will. On the 11th day, the batch changed. The fermentation reached the narrow range I had been waiting for. The roughness went away. The floral notes grew stronger. The texture became smooth but stayed light. Clark tried it. His eyes grew wide. He looked at me, then tasted it again. How did you do that? I fixed the culture. You only changed the temperature by less than a degree. That wasn't the key. What was? The timing. We followed the timing. You followed the clock. Lance came in. Clark gave him a clean spoon to try the honey. Lance stayed silent for several seconds. Then he looked at Hazel. "This is it." She tasted it next. Her face brightened, not with love, but with victory. She hugged me in front of the engineers. "You did it!" I stood quietly with my arms at my sides. Lance lifted the spoon again. "This will own the market." My honey. His market. Hazel kissed me on the cheek. "Our future," she whispered. I looked at the reserve tank. All my knowledge was inside it. Everything Tobias had taught me. Everything I'd learned through failed batches, bad seasons, weak colonies, and years when we barely made enough to pay taxes. I had created something beautiful for people who planned to use it to erase me. And I had made it perfect. That was the worst part. I could have ruined the batch. I could have made it average. I could have blamed mistakes and delays. But the craft wouldn't let me. Lance could own papers. Hazel could own agreements. But neither of them could make my hands betray the work. On the 12th day, we filled the sample jars. Tobias came in near sunset. Serena was carrying archive boxes to the upper room and had left him asleep in his chair. He must have woken and followed the smell. I saw him by the filling table. "Tobias, wait," he smiled. "Owen, this one's right." "I know." He reached for a sample. His sleeve caught the edge of the tray. One jar tipped, then another. The first hit the floor and broke. The sound stopped the whole room. Honey spilled on the concrete. Tobias looked down at it. "I'm sorry." Lance came across the room. Fast. Too fast. "It took 12 days to make that." Tobias looked up. "I said I'm sorry." "Lance," Hazel said. Tobias bent down to pick up the broken glass. I moved to stop him. "Don't touch it." Lance reached him first. He grabbed Tobias by the shoulder, pulled him up, and slapped him sharply. The sound was quick and hard. Tobias stumbled against the table. His veil fell to the floor. No one moved. Not Hazel, not Clark, not a single engineer. Tobias raised his hand to his cheek. He looked at Lance with the lost confusion of someone who didn't know where they were. Then he looked at me. "Owen?" Tobias said my name like he wasn't sure I was real. Then, without thinking, I moved fast and pushed Lance. I don't remember choosing to do it. One moment I was standing near the filling station. The next, my shoulder hit Lance's chest and pushed him back into the metal shelves. Glass jars shook and made noise. Clark shouted something. Hazel called my name. I didn't hear the rest. My left hand went to Lance's neck. His eyes opened wide. I had never seen real fear there before. Not anger, not surprise. Fear. "You hit him," I said. Lance grabbed my wrist. I squeezed tighter. "You hit an 83-year-old man just because he broke a jar." Lance's face went dark. "Owen, stop!" Hazel yelled. I pushed Lance harder against the shelf. "Do you think money makes you strong? Do you think because a few people watch what I do, you can touch him?" Lance tried to speak, but only made a weak sound. Someone grabbed my shoulder. I shrugged the arm away without looking. Clark stepped back. The other workers did too. Nobody wanted to get involved now. Hazel stood next to me. "If you hurt him badly, we lose everything." I kept my hand on Lance's neck. "He hit Tobias." "I know. You saw it." "I was trying to stop it." "You said his name. That's all you did." Lance's nails dug into my wrist. Hazel spoke low. "Listen, if this becomes a legal problem, the company will claim it can't keep working. The loan will be stopped. The farm will be tied up in court before you finish telling what happened." "He hurt Tobias." "And you're hurting him in front of 6 people." I looked around. Clark stood near the big machine, pale and quiet. 2 workers had their phones out. One was recording. Hazel noticed me looking. "That video will be in Lance's lawyer's hands before the police even get here," she said. "Do you think they'll care about a broken jar? They'll show a court someone losing control and hurting the main investor inside the plant." Lance's knees bent. I could have caused him real harm. A little more pressure. A few more seconds. It would have felt right. That was the truth. But behind me, Tobias started to cry. Quietly. He made soft, confused sounds while Serena tried to stop him from touching the broken glass. I let go of Lance. He fell to his knees, coughing, holding his neck. I turned away. Tobias had blood on his hand from a cut. The side of his face was already turning red. Serena signed with one hand and pressed a cloth on his hand with the other. He doesn't know where he is. I crouched in front of Tobias. "It's me." He looked at me. "Evelyn?" "No." "Owen." "Where's Owen?" "I'm here." His eyes scanned my face, trying to understand. Then he reached out and touched my cheek. "You look upset." "I'm not upset with you." The jar fell. I know. I ruined it. No, you didn't. It was the good one. I can make more. Lance coughed behind me. You're done, he said in a rough voice. I looked over my shoulder. There was a red mark around his neck. He pointed at me. You're finished. I will have you removed from this place by tonight. Hazel stepped between us. No. Lance stared at her. No. The launch is in 12 days. He attacked me. You hit Tobias first. His face changed. He expected her to take his side. Hazel showed him loyalty in a different way. She spoke quietly but loud enough for everyone to hear. If you remove Owen now, there will be no launch. Clark can't finish the reserve without him. None of your engineers can. You know this. Clark looked upset but said nothing. Lance stood up slowly. You're on his side? I'm protecting the project. You're protecting him. I am protecting what we came here for. The room became quiet again. Hazel realized what she had said. She looked at the engineers, then at me. I kept my face calm. Lance fixed his collar. Everyone, leave. Clark hesitated. Mr. Lance, get out now. The engineers started packing their tablets. I helped Tobias into a chair while Serena gathered the archive boxes. Lance pointed at Serena. She leaves too. I stood up. She stays with Tobias. Get her out of my lab. Your lab? I asked. Hazel stepped in before things got worse. Owen, take Tobias to the house. I'll handle this. I looked at her. She expected me to listen. I did. Not for her, but for Tobias. Serena and I took him back to the farmhouse. He asked about the broken jar 4 times. Each time, I said it didn't matter. Each time, he said sorry again. In the bathroom, Serena cleaned a small cut on his hand, while I held a cool cloth to his cheek. His eyes looked at the floor. He was angry, Tobias said. He had no right to touch you. I shouldn't have gone in. You can go into that building anytime you want. Hazel said I get confused. I looked at Serena, her lips pressed together. When did Hazel say that? I asked. Tobias shrugged. Maybe Evelyn said it. He had already forgotten the order of things, but the fear stayed. That was one of the hardest parts of dementia. The facts fade away. The fear stays. Serena finished wrapping his hand and signed to me. He needs a doctor. I will call Dr. Vale. And the police? I didn't answer. Her hands moved faster. Lance was rough with him. I know. Then call. If I call now, Lance will cause more trouble. That doesn't make it right. I did not say it was right. She stood up. You keep saying you protect us. He showed he doesn't care in front of you. Hazel watched and then stopped you because the money was more important. Every word was true. I signed. What do you want me to do? Please help. She looked embarrassed as if she had asked a question no one could answer. I looked at Tobias. He was picking at the edge of the bandage. I knelt down and took his hand. Keep it on. It's not mine, he said. It is for tonight. He looked at me carefully. Are you going to let that man come back? For a moment, he was clear again. Just long enough. No, I said. I wasn't sure what I really meant yet, but it felt true. About an hour later, Dr. Vale came to the house. He checked Tobias carefully. He made notes about the swelling and said there was no serious injury to his head or bones. I asked him to write everything down. He looked at me. Are you reporting an attack? I'm just keeping a medical record, I said. That's not what I asked. Not right now. He didn't like that answer. Neither did I. After the doctor left, Serena stayed close to Tobias's bed. Hazel came up the stairs and stopped by the door. How is he? Serena didn't look at her, so I answered. He is bruised, scared, with a cut on his hand. Hazel crossed her arms. I'm sorry. Tell him, I said. He's sleeping, she said. He isn't, I said. Tobias's eyes were closed, but I could see them moving under his eyelids. Hazel stepped into the room and softly called, Tobias? He opened his eyes. She sat on the edge of the bed. What happened in the laboratory should never have happened. Tobias looked at me and asked, Who is she? Hazel froze. I should have felt sorry for her, but I didn't. She's Hazel, I said. Tobias turned toward the wall. Hazel stood and whispered in the hallway. Lance is very angry. That must be hard for him. He wants to report you. Let him. Owen, you can't keep acting like you have nothing to lose. I almost lost him today. Yes. Maybe I don't have anything to lose. Her face tightened. You have Tobias to lose. Serena, the farm, Every part of it. You could lose it all. You keep using them to hold me back. I'm just reminding you what's real. No. You're reminding me that you built a deal where protecting the people I care about can be used to control me. She looked at me hard. Where did you hear that? I went too far. I glanced toward Tobias's door. From you. Every time Lance crosses a line, you say the debt matters more. That's not fair. He hurt an old man, Hazel. I know. And you just watched. I called his name. I laughed quietly. You should be proud. Her voice got louder. What was I supposed to do? Put myself between you two? Let you destroy everything? You could have told him to leave. He runs the investment company. He doesn't own the house, but he controls the debts. And you gave him that power. She looked like I had shocked her. For a moment, I thought she knew I found the real reason behind it all. Then she said, I made the only deal that kept this farm going. You keep saying that because it's true. Maybe you say it because you want to believe it. She stepped closer. What exactly are you accusing me of? I looked into her eyes. Not yet. Nothing. That isn't nothing. I'm tired. You almost did something terrible. No. I almost finished what needed to be done. She took a step back. There it was. Fear. Small but real. I walked past her. Owen, where are you going? To clean the lab. Lance said no one goes in until tomorrow. Lance can forget it. I went downstairs, put on my coat, and left through the back door. The workshop lights were off. The lab was quiet. Honey still covered part of the floor where the jar had broken. Someone had put warning cones around it. I cleaned the glass. I scrubbed the floor. I took off Lance's label from Tobias's tool and locked it away. Then I sat at the work table, the same one from the video. I ran my hand over the old wood. For days, I had hoped that being patient could help us. Then I thought proof might save us. Then Gideon's search gave me a small chance, and I believed I might live long enough to use it. But Lance had hurt Tobias where others saw it happen. Hazel had kept the new plan safe. Not Tobias. The plan, the product, the problem. The future she wanted with someone else. The law might punish Lance later. A court might fix the deal. Gideon might find something useful. All that would take time. Tobias didn't have time. Serena could lose her job tomorrow. The farm could be taken before a judge even heard my name. I opened the cabinet under the old bench and found Tobias's maps from the field. Black Canyon was marked in red pencil. Keep managed colonies north of Ridge. Toxic bloom, do not harvest. The note was 27 years old. I knew what grew there. I knew what it could do. All my life, that knowledge had been a warning. That night, it became the answer. I changed into thicker clothes, took a flashlight, a bag for tools, gloves, a small notebook. I left my phone in the workshop. At the edge of the forest, the cold air blew away the last of my doubts. I looked back at the farmhouse. One window upstairs still had its light on. Serena was watching over Tobias. Hazel's room was dark. Maybe she was asleep. Maybe she was talking to Lance. I stopped caring. I crossed the ridge and walked toward the place Tobias had told me never to go. Black Canyon wasn't black. That was just what Tobias called it after two calves wandered down there as kids and never came back. At night, it felt dark enough. The path got narrow between rocks and thick bushes. I had to turn sideways in some spots and use tree roots to keep my balance. Azaleas grew below the ridge where our bees rarely went. Their leaves were dark and their branches tangled together. Even in the cold, the place felt wrong. Maybe it was just my memory. Tobias had warned me to treat the canyon as a place to avoid. You did not bring tools from there to the beehives. You did not let animals eat nearby. You did not think nature was always safe. People liked saying nature was pure. Nature did not care if you lived or not. I stopped by the first group of hives and opened my field bag. My hands were calm. That bothered me. I wanted a part of me to fight back. I wanted my hands to shake, my stomach to feel bad. Some small voice inside me to say what I was about to do could not be changed. Instead, I thought about Tobias's face after Lance hurt him. I thought about Serena signing something. I started picking up what I needed, carefully. Not much, just enough. I kept the materials separate and marked each container. I would not risk bringing any danger to the work building or near a living hive. The plan in my head was small. 2 jars, 2 people, no public batches, no visitors, no workers, no Serena, no Tobias. I told myself this was safe. That was the first lie I told for revenge, not for safety. By morning, I found an old stone place behind the canyon wall. Tobias had once kept fence supplies there. The entrance was hidden by bushes, and the stone stayed cool and dry. I came back the next night with a small light and equipment taken from storage rooms no longer on the project list. Nothing from the active lab. Nothing Lance's team would miss. I set up a small space. I was not making poison from nothing. The danger was already in the plant. My work was about separating, isolating, and hiding it. That difference meant a lot to me then. It really shouldn't have. For the next 5 nights, I lived 2 lives. During the day, I worked under Lance's watch. At dinner, Hazel showed she cared. At night, I walked into Black Canyon. Tobias was still scared of the lab. He would not go inside it. When he heard Lance's voice, he touched his face. Serena saw that. Hazel saw it too. Lance either did not see or did not care. On the second morning after the fight, Hazel brought coffee to the workshop. "I talked to Lance," she said. "That sounds serious." Her mouth became tight. "He agreed not to press charges." "How kind." "In return, you will sign a paper agreeing to be careful at work." I looked at it. It said I started an unneeded fight and would be responsible for safety in the future. I tore it into 2 pieces. Hazel stared at the pieces. "What are you doing?" "Fixing the story. He can still call the police. Then he can explain why Dr. Vale wrote down Tobias's injuries." Her eyes got sharp. "You made this worse. For who?" "Owen, you need to see the position you are in. Lance has 6 people who saw what happened. So do I. You say you choked him. How do you think I got my hands around his neck?" "That's not the point." "It is the point." She picked up the torn paper. "You're acting without sense." "No. I was not thinking clearly when I trusted you with the contract." Her face went quiet. "What did you say?" "I said I should have read it myself." "Have you been talking with someone?" "Shouldn't I?" "Who?" "A lawyer." Hazel's calm face showed worry for a moment. Then she laughed. "A lawyer told you to go against Lance?" "A lawyer told me to protect my files." "Which files?" "The files that show what was there before the project." She looked at me closely. I stayed quiet. I wanted her nervous. Not sure. Nervous people made mistakes. Finally, she said, "You are making problems that aren't real. Lance hurt Tobias. That was bad. But he came back the next day. He said sorry. To you? To me. Then Tobias should feel better." Hazel threw the torn paper on the bench. "You are impossible to talk with." "Then stop talking." She left. That afternoon, Gideon came to the lab again. Lance was out meeting reporters. Hazel was with him. Gideon asked to speak alone. We went outside. He opened his folder. "The building permits were sent after work started." "That sounds like Lance." "The company on the project papers doesn't match the one on the old insurance form." "What does that mean?" "It means ownership or control may have changed without telling anyone." "Can they do that?" "They can change how things are set up, but they can't hide important changes that affect risk." He showed me a form. Hazel's signature was at the bottom. The date was 3 months before, the same time when Hazel and Lance probably started meeting for lunch. Gideon watched me closely. "You didn't know about this?" "I knew Lance had put money in." "That's not what I asked." "No. I didn't know the project company had changed." He closed the folder. "Your wife sent this change in." "I see. Lance's office has been pushing my boss to stop the building check. Will they stop it?" "No." He said it simply. I almost liked him. "What happens next?" "I'll take pictures of the north side tomorrow. Your plan shows temporary VIP parking near the slope." "That slope shouldn't be touched." "Why not?" "The soil is loose. An old water path runs there. Tree roots hold the top of the hill together." "Is there a paper about that?" "Tobias has soil reports. Serena can find them." Gideon nodded. "Send me copies straight away." "You keep saying straight away. You keep working with people who change papers." I looked at him. He looked right at me. He knew something was wrong. Not about a secret, not the plan, but something else. "Gideon," I asked, "if someone wanted to cause the debt on this farm to happen quickly, how much harm could canceling an insurance policy do?" "That depends on the agreements you have." "I'm asking in general." "In general, losing required coverage can stop subsidies tied to the farm, break agreements with lenders, and make it almost impossible to get new loans." "Fast?" "Fast enough." He waited. I said nothing more, and neither did he. Before leaving, he looked toward the farmhouse. Make sure you write down everything. Then he left. That night, in the cool hollow of the limestone cave, the first change sample was ready. Under the bright work light, it looked darker than usual honey, a deep amber with a reddish shade. It was beautiful, and that made it worse. I only tested what I had to and destroyed everything disposable that touched it. I wrote notes in a field notebook using the same simple code Tobias had shown me for risky plant cases. No exact recipe, no full explanation, just enough for me to remember what I had done. I guessed the effect based on known harmful levels, how fermentation worked, and how strong the material was. A guess. That word was important. People's bodies were not like fermentation jars. Lance was bigger than Hazel. Hazel would take less than Lance. Medicine, food, how their bodies worked, and luck could change everything. I could make the reserve risky. I couldn't control what would happen after they took it. At the top of the page, I wrote one sentence. No third person. The next day, Lance went over the ceremony plan with Hazel. I stood nearby, pretending to check labels. Clark read from the schedule. 2 Founders Reserve jars will stay closed until the host presentation. 1 spoon for Mr. Lance, 1 for Mrs. Mercer. The press batch will be served from the standard reserve table. Mrs. Mercer. Hazel smiled quietly when she heard that. Not because she cared about my name, but because she liked the idea of having the title, until Lance could give her something better. I said, the Founders Reserve stays under my control. Lance looked at me. Why? Because you asked for the very best batch. Then Clark can hold it. No. You're getting possessive again. I'm keeping it safe from accidents or being opened too soon. Hazel said. He's right. The hosts should break the seals during the ceremony. Lance thought about it. He liked the ceremony part. Fine, he said. 2 jars. For the hosts only. I looked at the printed plan. There it was. The way they would give it out. The jars would be sealed, labeled, set apart, only handled during the ceremony. That night, I went back to Black Canyon and finished the second jar. When both were ready, I put them side by side under the work light. 2 jars of deep red honey. 2 people. 1 promise to myself. No third person. Lance brought the excavator 3 days before the launch. I heard it before I saw it. The machine came down the road from the north, pulling a flatbed behind it. 2 trucks followed, carrying temporary fences and bags of gravel. I stepped out of the lab. What is that? Hazel asked, standing near the event coordinator who held a clipboard. Getting the parking ready, the coordinator said. For where? Hazel pointed toward the hill to the north. My chest tightened. No, I said. Lance appeared beside the excavator. Not this again. That hill isn't safe, I warned. It's been there for 100 years, Lance said. Only because the trees hold it in place, I replied, looking at the line of old trees on the hill. Tobias had helped plant some of those trees with his father. The roots ran deep into the soft soil. Lance looked at the trees. They blocked the view. They also stopped the hill from sliding down, I said. Hazel lowered her clipboard. Owen, the plan needs space for VIP cars and broadcast trucks. Use the field in the south, I suggested. That field looks like farmland. That's because it is. This is a working farm. But the north side looks better in photos, Hazel said. I stared at her. That's your main reason? The media image is very important, Hazel said. More than safety? I asked. Lance laughed. You make it sound worse than it is? It doesn't have to be a big hill to cause trouble, I said. The excavator driver stepped down. He was an older man with a tired face. He seemed uneasy as he looked at the trees. Did you check for drainage? He asked. Lance said. The engineer approved the work. Where is he now? Available by phone. The driver looked at me. Are you the owner? Yes. Hazel added quickly. The project team is in charge of the event setup. The driver rubbed his chin. I asked because the earth up there looks loose. It is, I said. Lance turned to the driver. You were hired to clear the space. I was hired to prepare the parking. Then do it. The driver looked up at the sky. The morning was dry, but rain was coming later. I had a printout of the weather alert and handed it to Lance. We could get 3 inches of rain in 12 hours, I warned. He barely looked at it. The event will finish before the heavy rain comes. The ground doesn't care about the event schedule, I said. Hazel added, We have tents and barriers for water control. Barriers can't replace tree roots, I said. Lance stepped forward. Let me make this clear. We have 42 journalists coming, buyers from 3 big companies, Vera Shaw and investors. They won't park in a muddy field behind a barn just because you like those trees. They're not ugly, I said. That's the part you heard, Lance said. I pointed at the ridge. The soil is loose shale and soft up there. The trees hold it steady. There's an old drainage channel under the road. Lance looked but didn't say anything. The tension grew as the machines waited to start. You clear those roots, use heavy machines on the top, then place vehicles below during a big storm, and you create a path where the ground might slide. Hazel looked at Lance. For a moment, it seemed she might listen. Then the event coordinator said, "The photos will look much better from the north entrance." Hazel looked back at me. "We go ahead." I stared at my wife. "Do you understand what I just told you?" "Yes." "And do you agree to it?" "I agree to a careful grading plan based on the engineer's advice." "But you haven't seen that advice." "I trust Lance." She said this to me, not to the workers or the coordinator. I looked at Lance. He smiled. "You heard her," he said. The big machine started working. 20 minutes later, the first tree fell. The roots came out of the ground with a deep cracking sound. Tobias heard it from the porch. Before Serena could stop him, he walked toward the yard. "What are they doing?" I met him halfway. "They are clearing for the event." "No." His face changed when he saw the fallen tree. "No, no, no." Serena reached us. Tobias pointed at the hill. "Tell them to stop." I tried. "It will move." "I know. The hill will move." "I know." He grabbed my coat. "My father planted those." Lance stood near the excavator, talking on his phone. Tobias started to go to him. I held him back. "No, he can't. He already has." Tobias looked at me with a face I had only seen once before when Evelyn passed away. "You let him." I closed my eyes for a moment. "Yes." Serena signed to me. "This is not your choice." Tobias didn't notice. He kept watching the trees fall. By sunset, the upper hill was bare. Gravel covered the parking area below. Water from a test hose ran across the new surface and collected in the same old drainage spot, just as I had said it would. Gideon arrived as the workers were leaving. He got out of his car, looked at the hillside, and asked, "Who said to do this?" Lance walked over to him. "I did." "Where is the permit to control erosion?" "It's with the project office." "Where are the safety barriers?" "They'll put them up tomorrow." "Work shouldn't have started without them." Lance lost his patience. "I'm tired of you coming here and finding problems that aren't real." Gideon took out his camera. "I didn't cut the trees down." "You work for an insurance company? Your job is to check damage claims, not stop private projects." "My job is to check new risks. You took down trees that stop wind right above a temporary parking area only 3 days before a big rain." Lance pointed toward the road. "Leave." Gideon took a photo of him. Lance stepped closer. "Did you just take my picture?" "Yes." "Delete it." "No." Hazel came over to them. "Gideon, maybe we can talk about this calmly." "I am calm." "The engineering team approved the grade. Send me the written report." "We will. Before tomorrow morning." Lance laughed. "Or what?" Gideon lowered the camera. "Or my report will say the main investor asked for a change that was never checked even after a clear warning." Lance looked at me. "You've been giving him information." "I told him the same things I told you." Hazel's eyes moved between us. The gap in the trap seemed wider, not a way out yet. But Lance could see it now. That made him more dangerous. After Gideon left, Lance walked toward me. "If this event is stopped because of your inspector friend, I will blame you. He is not my friend." "Then why does he keep finding reasons to help you?" "He isn't helping me, he's watching you." Lance's face changed. I kept going. "That's the difference between men like you and men like Gideon. You think everyone is working for someone else. He is just working for the truth. You think you're brave now?" "No, I am just tired." "Be careful what tired men do." I looked at the empty hill. "Maybe you should follow your own advice." That night, I went into the event storage room carrying 2 red jars inside a soft case. The standard Founders Reserve jars were in a locked cabinet. Clark had locked them that afternoon. I saw him put tamper labels on the lids. The labels had serial numbers. The jars looked the same. Almost. The natural reserve was golden. Mine was darker. Under the event lights, few would notice. I unlocked the cabinet with the production key. took out the standard jars, put the altered jars inside, pressed the labels down matching the serial numbers. Then I carried the safe jars to a limestone recess and left them sealed. No chance of mixing, no chance of use by mistake. 2 dangerous jars stayed in the event cabinet, for host use only. The instructions were taped inside the door. Founder's reserved ceremonial host, tasting for Lance and Hazel only. I read this 3 times. Then I closed the cabinet. Behind me, someone moved. I turned. Serena was in the doorway. My heart skipped. She looked at the soft case in my hand, then at the locked cabinet. Her hands moved. "What are you doing?" "Checking the reserve." She looked at my mouth, then signed. "You left your phone in the workshop again." "I was working." "At midnight?" "The launch is close." Her eyes glanced at the case. "What is inside?" "Rejected jars. Why carry them outside?" "I am keeping them safe." That was true. Serena stepped closer. "You said we were in danger. You said to save all records. You disappear every night. Now you are moving sealed jars where there are no cameras." I didn't say anything. She signed slowly. "Are you going to harm them?" I looked at her. I could have lied, but she would have known. I answered a different question. I said, "I will not let anyone hurt you or Tobias again." Her face tightened. "That's not what I asked. Go back to the house, Owen, please." She held my eyes for a few seconds. Then she sighed. "Whatever you're doing, you're not in control as much as you think." She left. I stood alone beside the storage cabinet. Outside, wind blew across the bare hill to the north. Loose dirt hit the wall like dry rain. I looked toward the dark spot where trees used to be. Lance had destroyed the only thing keeping the slope steady. He thought he was making a grand entrance, but all he did was dig a hole for himself. The launch started at 4 in the afternoon. By 3:30, the farm looked different. Black cars filled the new parking lot to the north. Press vans lined the road. Temporary signs covered the barns. Lance's company name was bigger than the farm's name on every banner. Hazel called it a needed balance for branding. I called it stealing with fancy printing. Rain was expected after sunset, but the wind was already changing. It blew hard and unevenly down the bare hill. The event organizer told workers to add more weights around the tents. No one moved the vehicles. I wore a dark suit Hazel had chosen. She fixed my tie in the farmhouse hallway. "Try to smile today," she said. "I smile." "You look like you're waiting at a funeral." "Maybe I know something you don't." Her hands paused on the tie. "What do you mean?" "It means I don't like crowds." She looked at my face, then kept tightening the tie. "You'll stand beside Lance during the introduction. When he talks about growing the business, don't say anything." "What if he's wrong?" "He won't be." "He usually is." "Owen." "I'll behave." That's all I ask. No, it wasn't all she wanted. She wanted me to obey, to be silent, to look like the loyal husband helping his smart wife and her powerful partner turn a simple farm into a big business. Hazel stepped back. She looked beautiful. I hated that, I noticed. Her dress was dark green, tight at the waist, with a high neck and long sleeves. It was nice for the cameras and clearly expensive, something I hadn't paid for. A thin gold chain rested at her neck. I had never seen it before. "Did Lance buy that?" I asked. She touched the necklace. "What?" "The necklace." She recovered quickly. "It came from the event wardrobe." "Of course. Don't start this now. I just asked." And I answered. She walked toward the door. I followed. Outside, Serena stood next to Tobias on the porch. He wore a clean jacket and one of his old pins from beekeeping. He looked at the crowd. "Are they buying the farm?" he asked. "No," I said. Hazel glanced at me. Tobias kept watching. "They look like buyers." "They're here for the honey." "Same thing." Serena signed to him. "We will stay near the house. Too many people near the production room." He nodded. Then he looked toward the northern hill. "Rain is coming." "I know." "Cars shouldn't be there." "I know," Hazel said. "Can we not do this now?" Tobias looked at her. "Who are you?" She walked away. The first hour went by with introductions, photos, and speeches. Lance moved through the crowd like a leader. He shook hands, touched shoulders, called people by name after assistants whispered names in his ear. Hazel stayed beside him. I was placed near the demonstration table with Clark. He had become quieter around me since Tobias found the faulty sample. "Pressure is stable," he said. "I can see that." "The service batch is holding." "I can see that too." He lowered his voice. Did Tobias get better? Physically. Clark looked toward Lance. I should have said something. Yes, I work for him. That doesn't stop you from speaking. It could hurt my job. I looked at him. That's how men like Lance keep their power. Everyone thinks staying quiet is just for a little while. Clark thought about that. Then he looked at the gauges again. At 5:15, Vera Shaw arrived. No big entrance. No announcement. She walked from a plain car carrying a small leather notebook with one photographer and a woman from her company. Hazel saw her and almost left a buyer hanging in mid-sentence. Vera, she called. Vera looked at her. Mrs. Mercer. Hazel, please. They shook hands. Lance came beside them. Vera, welcome. We've prepared something special. That is what the invitation said. Her voice was calm, not rude. She just wanted to wait before being impressed. I liked her right away. Hazel led her toward the display. Our process combines family tradition with modern fermentation control. Owen created the original method, and Lance's team helped us improve it for national production. Vera looked at me. You developed it? Yes. How long? The original method belonged to Tobias. I spent 14 years improving the fermented line. Hazel's smile tightened. She wanted a shorter answer. Vera wrote something in her notebook. And how much did the investors' team change? Lance answered. We turned an instinctive farm process into a stable commercial system. Vera looked at Clark. Is it repeatable without Mr. Mercer? Clark opened his mouth but said nothing. I almost smiled. Lance said, that is the goal of modern process design. That wasn't my question. Hazel stepped in. Owen will remain key to the product. Vera looked at me again. Do you believe that? Hazel answered for me. Of course he does. Vera's eyes stayed on mine. I said, I think the honey will show who really understands it. A small look touched her mouth. It wasn't quite a smile. Good answer. 5 minutes later, Hazel pulled me aside. What are you doing? Answering questions. You made Lance seem like he was avoiding them. He was avoiding. This isn't the time to bring up old problems, isn't it? No, this event is to protect the farm. I looked past her at the flags with Lance's logo. Does it? She grabbed my arm. You need to get a hold of yourself. Vera can make or break this launch with one story. Then maybe stop giving her speeches. Hazel let me go. You want to make me look bad? I leaned in closer. You don't know what it means to feel ashamed. For once, she had no reply. At 6, the formal tasting began. The sky grew dark earlier than we thought. The event coordinator asked if the outdoor stage should be moved under the big tent. Lance said no. The red carpet stays where the cameras have the hill behind us. I looked at the hill. It was loose and dry. Many cars were below. The first light rain started. Not enough to stop things, but enough to darken the ground. Clark unlocked the reserve cabinet and brought 2 jars labeled Founder's Reserve to the table. I watched him closely. The seals were still on. The jars were correct. He put them behind the name cards that read Lance and Hazel. The batch for the press sat safely on another table, some feet away. The event coordinator checked the plan. Mr. Lance presents the product. Mrs. Mercer talks about the partnership. Both open the reserve jars and taste. Vera gets the standard reserve right after. Right, I said. Hazel came over. Change it. My chest became tight. The coordinator looked at her. How? Vera should taste first. No, I said. Hazel turned to me. What? The Founder's Reserve is only for the hosts? It is the best batch. It is set for the ceremony. So we open it early. The standard reserve is for the guests. Vera stood nearby, talking with her photographer. She didn't hear us yet. Hazel spoke softly. She is the most important critic in the country. I won't give her the second best honey. It's not second best. It's the batch for the press. Then why is the Founder's Reserve kept separate? Because Lance wanted it to be a show. Lance came over. What's wrong? Hazel said. I want Vera to taste the Founder's Reserve first. He smiled. Smart idea. No, I said. They looked at me. Lance's smile faded. You don't decide how we serve. I wrote the plan. And we changed it. The jars were kept for the hosts to open during the ceremony. Hazel's eyes narrowed. Why are you making such a big deal over 2 jars of honey? The question stayed in the air. I felt Serena watching from the porch. She knew something was off, but not what. Enough. I said, because keeping the reserve's quality is important. Lance laughed. You've spent 2 weeks telling us you don't think we respect your knowledge. Now your wife wants to give the world's top critic your best product, and you don't agree. Give her the regular reserve. No. Lance! He stepped closer. This launch is what will save your farm. Stop acting like someone afraid to share his best jar. Hazel looked at the stage. The cameras were on. People were turning toward us. She picked up one of the founder's reserve jars. Her jar. The one with the problem. I will serve Vera myself. My mouth went dry. Hazel put it down. She stopped moving. I had said it too sharply. Vera looked toward us. So did some reporters. Hazel smiled for the cameras. Everything is fine. Then quietly, she said to me, Don't embarrass me. She carried the jar onto the stage. Lance followed. The coordinator waved for me to get ready near the display. I didn't move. Hazel began her speech. She talked about tradition, partnership, and trust. She said the farm was always a family, and Lance's help let us share that family's work with the world. I watched the jar. My jar. The one I had prepared for her. No third person. The phrase from my notebook kept echoing in my mind. Hazel finished talking and held up the reserve. For our first special taste, I would like to invite Vera Shaw to join us. People clapped. Vera came onto the stage. Lance looked happy. The cameras turned to her. Hazel broke the seal. I heard the quiet snap from far away. She took off the lid. The dark honey shone in the light. Vera noticed the color. Unusual, she said. A private reserve, Hazel answered. Owen made it himself. That was true. God help me. It was true. Hazel dipped the big spoon into the jar. Too big of a spoonful. She held it out to Vera. The crowd fell silent. Vera leaned forward. I looked at the cables from the cameras on the edge of the stage. I looked at Lance, at Hazel, at the spoon, at Serena, standing still next to Tobias. Hazel moved the honey closer. 10 inches, 6, 3. The spoon with the problem stopped less than an inch from Vera's lips. The spoon was just shy of touching Vera's mouth. I had wanted Hazel and Lance to feel the pain. I had planned it well, carried those jars quietly by night with my own hands. But Vera hadn't done anything to me. She never threatened Tobias. She wasn't rude to Serena. She hadn't reached for my wife, stolen my work, or aimed to destroy my farm. She was on my stage because Hazel wanted her approval. No third person. I moved. The stage was filled with cameras, cables, lights, and people who thought the worst thing that could happen was a bad review. I caught my shoe on a thick black camera cable and stumbled forward. It wasn't graceful at all. Grace looks planned, and this was not. My shoulder bumped into Hazel's arm. The spoon flew from her hand. Honey spilled across her green dress in a dark red stain. The special jar slipped from her grip. I caught it before it fell on the floor. The spoon hit the stage edge and broke. Vera stepped back. Voices shouted. Cameras flashed. Hazel looked down at her dress. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she looked at me with pure anger. You clumsy fool. The microphone caught every word. The event organizer hurried over. I'm sorry, I said. Hazel pushed my shoulder. Sorry? You threw yourself at me in front of all the important people who came to this dirty little farm. The crowd went quiet. Even the rain seemed softer. Hazel looked around and realized what she had said, but it was too late. The microphones were still on. The farm she had praised all afternoon was now called dirty because of the stain on her dress. I crouched down and started picking up the broken spoon pieces. A press photographer leaned close to catch every move. Hazel stood over me. You had one job today. Stand where you were told, smile when you were told, and let the people who actually know what they're doing explain things you could never manage yourself. I picked up another piece. Her voice was shaking with anger. For months, Lance and I have tried to help you see a future you wouldn't even imagine. We brought in investors. We brought national attention. We brought experts who could turn your little backyard hobby into something real and valuable. And you still found a way to make me look bad. My backyard hobby? 14 years of work, Tobias's life? Serena's collection? Every hard winter and each group of bees we saved. A hobby. Lance reached for Hazel's microphone. That's enough. No, she snapped. I'm tired of protecting him. That almost made me laugh. She faced the crowd again. Owen is good with bees, I'll give him that. But talent isn't the same as leadership. It's not good judgment. It's not vision. Without Lance's money and my work, he'd still be hiding here, making a few jars for farmers markets and congratulating himself for never trying anything new. Vera watched Hazel closely. I did not. Hazel went on. This man can't even walk across a stage without ruining a moment other people created for him. I put the last piece on the broken spoon tray. Then I stood up. Honey had splashed on my sleeve. Hazel breathed hard, expecting me to fight back. The old Owen might have. He might have told the room exactly what she was, but I looked at Vera instead. Are you hurt? No. Did any honey get in your mouth? Vera's eyes narrowed just a little. No, Hazel laughed. Look at him. He almost knocked her off the stage, and now he was acting like he cared. I do care, he said. You should care about the mess you just caused. Lance took the jar from my hand. Enough. Let's get back on track. The event helper whispered, we can stop the show for a moment. No, Lance said. Pausing will make this look worse. Vera spoke softly. It already looks bad. Lance smiled at her. Just a small accident. Owen has been worn out from all the work. Hazel wiped her dress with a cloth. He's been shaky for days. There it was. The word in the contract. Shaky. Not careless, not tired. Shaky. She was already making notes, even while wearing that poisoned honey on her chest. Lance held out the backup jar to Vera. Let's start again. No, I said. Everyone turned to look at me. Lance's face grew hard. What now? The spoon broke. Bring another one. The jar might be dirty because it touched me. It was a weak excuse. We all knew it. Hazel's eyes sharpened. But you caught it. The lid was open. It never hit the floor. I said it might be dirty. Lance looked at the cameras. I could tell he was thinking. If he agreed with me, the show would stop. Questions would come. Why had I acted so strange? Why was the backup jar unsafe? Why had the team ignored the producer's warning? His pride decided. He lifted the jar. There's nothing wrong with this, honey. Hazel looked at him. He looked back. Something passed between them, a challenge, a promise. She had to prove she still supported him. Hazel took the second reserve jar from the table. She opened it. This is the best batch Owen has ever made, she said into the microphone. Since my husband is now raising doubts about his own product, Lance and I will settle it ourselves. The event helper said, Hazel, maybe we should... But Hazel did not listen. She took a clean spoon and scooped too much honey. She looked at me. See, Owen? This is what confidence means. Then she ate it. Lance took an even bigger spoonful. To the future, he said. He ate it too. Applause started at the back of the crowd. Quiet at first, then louder as people saw Lance wanted them to cheer. Hazel smiled, but it was clear she was upset. Lance raised the jar. The cameras flashed. I looked at Vera. She was watching me, not Hazel, not Lance, me. You didn't trip, she said quietly. The microphones missed it. I kept my face calm. Crowded stage. You saw the cable before your foot got near it. Hazel stepped forward and called for the special reserve to be served. Vera kept watching me. Why did you stop me? She asked. You said you weren't hurt. That's not what I asked. I stepped back. Behind the table, away from the crowd, I took my phone out of my pocket. I opened the stopwatch app. I pressed start. 15 minutes was just a guess. Bodies don't work like clocks. I watched the numbers start to move. For the first 5 minutes, nothing changed. Lance gave his speech. Hazel stood nearby with a dark mark on her dress and a smile that didn't seem real. Staff brought out the drinks for the guests. Vera took a clean spoon but didn't taste anything. She kept watching me. At 7 minutes, Lance lost his place. He looked down at the screen, then at the event organizer. The screen jumped, he said. She shook her head. No, sir. He tried again, but his next words came too fast. At Mercer Reserve, we believe tradition must be kept by progress, because progress without tradition is just... He stopped. Hazel whispered, Lance? He blinked hard. Something moved. The crowd shifted. A reporter raised his camera. Lance touched the corner of his eye. Get it off. Hazel leaned in. There's nothing there. He slapped his face. I said get it off. His microphone made the sound loud. The applause stopped. At 9 minutes, Hazel started laughing. It was a small laugh at first, like when someone is a little embarrassed but wants to seem fine. Then the laugh grew. She covered her mouth. Her shoulders shook. Lance looked at her. What's wrong with you? Hazel laughed harder. I don't know. Tears came to her eyes. She wiped them, looked at the red mark on her dress, and began to cry. The change happened so fast that some people laughed too. They thought it was part of the show. Then Hazel grabbed the front of her dress. It's tight. The event organizer stepped toward her. Let's get you off the stage. No. Hazel, you don't look well. I said no. She pulled out the collar. I can't breathe. I looked at the stopwatch. 10 minutes and 43 seconds. Too fast. Maybe my guess was wrong from the start. A medical helper walked onto the stage. Lance pushed him away. "There are bugs in the lights," the helper said. "Sir, please sit down." "Don't tell me what to do." Lance looked toward the crowd. His eyes looked strange. His face was pale. He pointed into the audience. "You." No one knew who he meant. "You brought them," a reporter asked. "Brought what?" "The bees." There were no bees under the tent. The weather had pushed them back long before the tasting began. Lance started rubbing his cheeks. "They're under my skin," Hazel screamed. Not out of fear, but from laughing so much. She bent forward, hands on her knees, laughing until she could barely breathe. Then she looked up at Lance and shouted, "You look silly!" Lance waved his hand near his face. "Be quiet. You have bugs on your face. There are bugs on your dress." Hazel looked down. Her smile disappeared. She started pulling at the fabric. The event worker tried to cover her with a coat. Hazel pushed it away. "Get them off me!" Cameras flashed again and again. Some reporters lowered their cameras. Most stayed ready. Lance had asked them to be there and record everything. They were doing their job. Clark came to me. "What is going on?" "I don't know." "That was your backup supply?" "It came from the locked cabinet." "Could it be spoiled?" "Anything could happen." He looked at me. I showed him concern, not fear or happiness. "Call the emergency team," I said. "Say it might be poisoning from the honey. Keep people away from both jars. Stop the event." Clark ran off. I went to the safe reserve table. "Put down all spoons," I told the staff. "No one eats or drinks until the medical team says it is okay." A reporter asked, "Is all the product spoiled?" "I don't know." "Did you know the backup was dangerous?" "I warned them not to use it after the jar was opened." That was true. The cameras had recorded it. Vera stood beside me. "You warned them before it was opened," she said softly. I looked at her. She had heard me argue when Hazel changed the plan. "Help keep people away from the stage," I said. "You saved my life." "We don't know that." "You know something." "Right now I know the crowd needs to move." She did not fully believe me, but she moved toward the reporters. "Step back. Give space for the medical team." People listened to Vera. Different people show power in different ways. Lance stumbled off the stage. He went toward the red carpet, brushing at his face and yelling at things no one else could see. Hazel followed him, barefoot now, her shoes left near the podium. She had torn part of her dress at the shoulder. The graceful woman from the farmhouse hall was gone. Now she looked scared, angry, and changed in a way none of us expected. She saw me. Her face changed. "Owen." I stayed where I was. She pointed at me. "This is your fault." The microphones caught her words, too. A reporter shouted, "Why is it his fault?" Hazel looked confused. Then she laughed again. "Because everything is his fault." She walked toward me and almost fell. I caught her arm. She tried to kiss me, in front of Lance, in front of the cameras. She missed my lips and hit my collar. "You still care?" she whispered. I helped her stand straight. "Please sit down." "You said you did." "Sit down, Hazel." She lightly hit me. Then she started to cry. "You ruined my dress." "I know." "You ruined everything." Lance saw my hand on her arm. His confused vision turned into jealousy. "Stay away from her," he said. He stepped forward quickly, but after 3 steps, his body failed him. First there was a noise, then a smell. Lance froze. The people nearby moved back. A woman covered her mouth. Someone near the barrier said, "Oh my God." Lance looked down. His fancy pants were ruined. For the first time that night, he understood something real. "No!" Hazel started laughing at him. She pointed. The cameras caught everything. Lance's face twisted in anger. "Stop filming!" But no one listened. He rushed toward the closest camera and slipped on the wet floor. Hazel's laughter stopped with a sharp breath. She doubled over and held her ruined dress. "No, no, no!" Her calm disappeared soon after. The smell spread under the tent. People moved away in waves. Hazel looked at the crowd, at the cameras, at Vera. Finally, she looked at me. There are times when a person can see how the rest of their life will be. Hazel saw that moment on the red carpet. Not the whole truth yet, but she knew this image would never leave her. She yelled at the press. "You animals, turn those off! Do you know who I am?" a reporter said without thinking. "Yes." That was the problem. Now everyone knew who she was. Lance got down on his knees. He called for security. His guards had pushed through the crowd, but even they hesitated to touch him. "Get me out," he said. "Sir, the ambulance is coming." "I said get me out." "Your condition." I'm not staying here while these people film me. Thunder rumbled over the hill. The rain grew stronger. Water hit the tent hard. The lights flickered. I looked at the porch. Serena stood with one arm around Tobias. She signed to me from far away. I looked toward the hill. Behind the stage, water was running down the bare slope. It wasn't soaking in. It was moving fast, carrying loose dirt with it. I signed back, take Tobias inside. Upper hall. Now. She understood. The event leader told everyone to move under the main buildings. Lance pushed his guard away. My SUV. Sir, you need help. My SUV is safe. Get me there. The guard looked at the northern parking area. Water was flowing across the gravel. It's too dangerous. Lance hit him. Even weak and covered in shame, he still thought hitting people made them listen. He broke free and staggered into the rain. Hazel shouted after him, "Don't leave me!" He didn't look back. That was the last time Lance spoke to her. The storm came all at once. First, the rain hit the tents hard. Then the wind tore two banners free and pushed water across the yard. Guests ran toward the farmhouse, barns, and the production building. Their shoes slipped in the mud. Cameras vanished under coats. People who had spent the afternoon wanting Lance's attention now tried to get away from him. I caught Hazel before she fell. "Come inside," she hit me. "Let go." "You can hardly stand." "Lance left me." "Yes. He can't leave me." "He just did." Her face twisted with pain. For a moment, I saw the scared woman I knew from the kitchen. Not the liar, not the troublemaker, just someone afraid, whose life had fallen apart. Then she threw up on the red carpet. I handed her to two medical helpers. "Take her to the medical building. Keep her away from the storage area." One helper asked, "Where are you going?" "To my family." I ran toward the farmhouse. The ground felt strange under my feet. Not the whole hill moving, just small shifts, warning signs. Serena met me on the porch. Tobias stood behind her, confused and upset. "They took the trees," he said. "I know." I told them. "I know." A loud crack came from the north side of the hill, deep and strong, not thunder, the earth moving. Serena felt it through the porch floor. Her eyes got wide. I signed, "Upstairs. Stay away from the north windows." She asked, "Hazel?" "Medical team has her." "Lance?" I looked toward the parking area. His black SUV sat near the bottom of the bare hill. Lance walked through the rain toward it with one security guard behind him. I signed. He chose the road. Serena knew what I meant. She hated me for it. Maybe she should have. Tobias grabbed my sleeve. "The hives? They're on the south rise. The queens? Safe. Promise?" "I promise." That calmed him enough for Serena to take him inside. I turned back toward the event. Gideon's car came down the south road. He stopped far from the north parking area and got out wearing a raincoat. "What is everyone doing?" he yelled. "Getting inside." He looked at the hill. Water poured down the brown dirt like sheets. "The parking area needs clearing." I told them. "Where's Lance?" I pointed. Lance reached the SUV. The guard tried to stop him from opening the driver's door. Lance pushed him into the mud. Gideon started walking toward them. I caught his arm. "No. He can't drive. The hill is moving." Just then, another crack broke through the air. This time from the upper slope. A dark line opened where the windbreak had stood. Gideon stopped. His face changed. He raised his camera, not to help Lance, to record what was happening. The SUV's engine started. The headlights came on. The vehicle backed up, wheels spinning in the wet gravel. Lance drove forward toward the access road. He made it about 20 feet. Then the hillside gave way. At first the soil folded down. The few trees at the edge bent and disappeared. Then a huge rush of water, dirt, roots, and broken earth flooded into the parking area. People were shouting from the barns. The SUV disappeared under the first big movement. Its back end lifted up. For a moment, the vehicle stood almost straight, headlights facing the storm. Then the second wave came. Metal bent, glass broke. The SUV rolled over and sank into the mud. The noise shook my chest. Gideon grabbed me and pulled me back as the landslide spread across the lower yard. We ran toward the middle ridge. A press van flipped onto its side. Temporary fences bent and were swallowed by the earth. The red carpet stage broke apart. The place where Hazel and Lance had stood just 15 minutes before was now covered by moving soil. We reached the farmhouse porch. The main house shook, but stayed standing. Tobias sat upstairs with his hands covering his ears. Serena knelt in front of him, trying to keep him calm. She saw me and signed a question. "Lance?" I shook my head. Her hand stopped. It was not sadness, but recognition. Gideon stood in the doorway, soaked and breathing hard. Is the house above the slide area? Yes. Are there fuel tanks below us? On the south side? On a strong platform? What about animals? In the upper barn? He nodded. He started working through the emergency steps because that was how he kept calm during fear. He called the rescue services and told them about the slide, trapped cars, possible injuries, and food that might be spoiled. I walked to the porch. Hazel wasn't at the safe building anymore. 2 volunteers were pulling her uphill through the mud. Her dress was torn, and blood ran down one side of her face. A piece of broken stage railing had hit her when the first part of the slide came down. I ran down and helped carry her. She was awake, but barely. "Owen," she said, "I'm here." "Lance?" I looked where the SUV had disappeared. "Don't talk." Did he leave me? That was so like Hazel that I almost hated her for still being alive. "Yes," I said. "He left." We got her onto the porch. Serena brought blankets. Gideon checked Hazel's breathing while I pressed on the cut near her temple. Hazel's eyes met mine. For the first time since the bear video, there was no act in her eyes. Just pain and confusion. "What happened?" "The hill moved." "You said it would." "Yes." She started to cry, softly. Her fingers closed around my wrist. "Don't let me die." I looked at her hand. The same hand that had once signed away parts of my life. The same hand that had held the poisoned spoon for Vera. The same hand I had covered in bed, pretending I didn't see. I kept pressing on the wound. "You're not dying." I wasn't sure if that was true, but I said it anyway. Emergency lights started to appear beyond the south field. The road from the north was gone, so the rescue teams came through the animal gate. Paramedics took Hazel away. Firefighters moved closer to the edge of the slide but couldn't reach Lance's SUV. The ground was still moving. No one could get there. By midnight, they called it a recovery mission, not a rescue. Lance was dead under the parking area he had insisted on. His company's logo still hung on a torn banner, half covered in mud. Gideon stood next to me under the porch roof. "I took pictures of the clearing yesterday," he said. "I know. I recorded the warning." "I know. The company named on the construction papers might not have been allowed to approve the work." I looked at him. "What will happen to the farm?" "That depends on the investigation." "Lance could cause the debt to happen." "Lance is dead. But his company is not." "No. But the person listed as the only authority to confirm the debt is." I stared at him. "How do you know that?" "I read the changed insurance papers your wife sent in. Lance kept final control over every big project decision." The rain kept falling. Gideon looked toward the buried SUV. "His successors may still ask for normal claims, but no one is taking the property tonight. Not while the insurance, county, and state investigators look into the unauthorized construction and hidden changes in ownership. A month before, I might have thanked God. That night, I did not feel thankful. It felt too simple for what had happened." Behind us, Tobias called my name. Serena stood by him in the doorway. They were safe. That was all that mattered. I told myself this again and again. Down the hill, rescuers worked under bright lights. Hazel was on her way to the hospital. Lance was dead. The contract felt like a tight band around my neck. I had won something, but I wasn't ready to say what it had cost me. 3 weeks after the mudslide, the farm smelled like wet dirt, diesel fuel, and things that had been covered for too long. Investigators had taken away what was left of Lance's SUV on the 6th day. They carried him out under a black cloth. Hazel was still in the hospital then. She didn't go to the funeral. Neither did I. Lance's company shared a statement calling his death a sad natural accident. Gideon's report said it was the likely result of unauthorized land changes, removal of important trees, changed drainage, and ignoring a plan for stopping erosion. I trusted Gideon's version more. The state froze the project company's bank accounts while they looked into the ownership changes, construction papers, and pressure on the insurance company. No one erased the debt. That would have been too easy. But no one made it due all at once either. Lance had made himself the only one who could approve a fast debt collection. He wanted total control, but dead men have little control. Vera gave a statement confirming that I spoke up when Hazel changed the tasting order. News photos showed me knocking the poisoned spoon from her hand. The report showed that Hazel and Lance ignored my warning about contamination and ate the reserved supplies themselves. The medical tests said they were affected by toxic honey. The investigators found no contamination in the usual service supplies. The 2 jars from the Founder's Reserve were never found in one piece. One had been swept away by the slide, and the other broke when the stage fell. That left many questions. Questions were risky. Proof was worse. After the storm, the first thing I did was take the safe reserve jars from the limestone shelf and give them to the investigators as unopened samples. They tested clean. I never went back to the canyon station. The slide had torn through the lower part of Black Canyon and covered part of the entrance. I told myself the equipment and notebook were lost. I wanted to believe that. Serena did not ask what had been in the jars. Not again. She only spoke to me when work needed it. She saved the archive files, managed the digital backups, and helped Gideon find Tobias's soil records. But the easy trust between us changed. She warned me that I had less control than I thought. She was right. Tobias refused to enter the lab. Even after the engineers left and Lance's labels were taken down, Tobias stopped at the door. "He'll be in there," Tobias said. "No," I told him. "He's gone. He comes back. He can't." Tobias would touch his cheek. His body remembered things, his mind could not. Hazel came back one gray Thursday morning. A rideshare dropped her at the end of the south lane because the northern road was still closed. She walked the rest with one bag. Her left wrist was in a brace. A healing cut ran from her hairline down to her temple. She moved slowly, breathing carefully because 2 cracked ribs hurt with every breath. No fancy coat, no gold necklace, no lance. I watched her cross the yard from the workshop. Serena saw her from the archive window. Tobias did not come outside. Hazel stopped in front of me. For a moment, we didn't speak. Then she said, "They fired me." I heard. "They froze my accounts. Lance's accounts, too. And my pay. The investigators will figure it out." She laughed once, and it hurt her ribs. She put her hand to her side. "You sound just like Gideon. He usually knows what he's talking about." She looked toward the buried parking area. "They wouldn't let me see him." There wasn't much to see. Her face tightened. I thought she was sad. Maybe she was angry that she was kept away. She looked at the farmhouse. "Is my room still there?" The slide didn't reach the house. That's not what I asked. "Yes, your room is still there." "Our room." I looked at her. She looked down first. Hazel stayed in the upstairs guest room. She said the stairs hurt less than walking past me at night. I did not argue. For the next 4 days, she moved through the farm, like someone visiting a place she once controlled, but had lost. The company workers were gone. The flags had been taken down. Clark had sent one letter to say sorry about Tobias and then stopped answering calls from Lance's lawyers. Hazel did not have an office anymore. The desk she had moved into the lab was now outside under a tarp. On the 5th day, she started helping with the cleanup. Not because I asked, but because she needed to check the areas the investigators had finished with. She looked for papers, jewelry, tools, anything that might link her to money that was still there. I saw her picking mud out of a broken storage cabinet near the old event space. "You shouldn't lift things with those ribs," I said. "You care about me now?" she asked. "I don't want you to fall and have to carry you." There he is. Who? The real Owen. I almost smiled. She still thought being harsh showed the truth and being kind was just pretending. Maybe that is how she made sense of herself. She pulled out a mud-covered metal box from under some broken shelves. I knew what it was, an old Hive record box. I started to breathe differently. Hazel saw me. "What is this?" she asked. "Old damaged records," I said. She opened the lid. Inside were field notes in plastic. The mudslide had pushed the box from the canyon and dropped it near the broken shelves. I thought it was lost, but it had returned. Hazel took out the notebook. I could have taken it from her. Maybe I should have, but the cleanup team was close. 2 state investigators stood near the fence. Any fight would create a new problem. Hazel began reading. She saw the note about the canyon, the mark about toxic plants, the dates, 2 special jars, the use by the hosts, no sign of a third person. Her face changed as she read more. She saw the changed reserve, my reasons for not serving Vera, the planned fall, the stopwatch, Lance's collapse, her own. I watched as she understood bit by bit. The notebook closed. She looked at me with a fear I had never seen before. Not fear of losing money, not fear of shame, fear of me. "You knew," she said. I said nothing. "You knew the reserve was dangerous." One investigator looked our way. I kept my voice low. "You should go inside." "You made it," she said. "Inside, Hazel. You put that stuff in those jars." I moved closer. Her body shifted back before she could stop it. That said more than her words. You were ready to hurt us. Lower your voice. You tried to harm me. I stopped Vera from taking it. Because you wanted Lance and me to eat it. The investigator started walking toward us. I held out my hand. Give me the notebook. Hazel held it tight to her chest. No. Mrs. Mercer? The investigator called out. Is everything okay? Hazel looked at him, then at me. She smiled, but it didn't feel real. Old money papers, she said. I thought they were destroyed. The investigator paused. Take anything that has to do with the company project. We may need to check it. This is personal. Then keep it separate and don't take it off the property without telling us. Hazel nodded. The investigator left. She looked back at me. You're going to jail. Maybe. I'll give this to them. Then do it. She stared at me, waiting for me to beg, deny, or get angry. I did nothing. If you tell on me, I said, make sure you tell the whole story. What whole story? I looked toward the farmhouse. The one you still think I don't know. Hazel gripped the notebook tighter. What do you mean? Bring it inside. I walked away. For the first time since I found the camera footage, Hazel followed. She threw the notebook on the living room table. It landed near the water stain from Lance's glass. You poisoned us. I closed the curtains. She laughed a little, nervously. What? Worried someone will see? I'm tired of pretending. You should have thought about that before you hurt two people at a public event. One person died in an accident. After you made him confused. He drove into a dangerous area. Because he wasn't himself. No, I said. Lance was never really himself. Money just stopped others from saying it. Hazel stepped closer. You think that sounds smart? You think you're a hero because you saved Vera at the last moment? No. Then what do you think you are? I looked at the notebook. I don't know yet. Her anger went down. She wanted me to feel proud. Pride would have made things easy. You wrote everything down, she said. Dates, samples, the canyon, 2 jars. You might as well have signed a confession. Then call the police. She pulled out her phone. I sat on the sofa. Go ahead. Her thumb moved over the screen. You don't think I'll do it. I think you've already thought about what happens if you do. Her face hardened. You tried to hurt me. What were you planning to do to me? I was seeing someone else. That's not trying to hurt someone. I'm not talking about that. The room became quiet. Outside, a barn door closed. Hazel put down the phone. What do you know? I reached under the TV stand and took out a laptop. Then I pulled a small USB drive from my pocket. Hazel watched as I plugged it in. The screen lit up. The camera showed green night vision. The storage shed came into view. Hazel appeared wearing the coat I bought her for our anniversary. Lance came behind her, his hand on her back. Hazel stopped breathing. I pressed play. Her recorded laughter filled the room. Then Lance's voice spoke. After the launch, I asked for the full fermentation plan. Hazel answered him on the recording. He'll give it to you. She moved toward the TV. I raised one hand. Sit down. You recorded us? The bear did. Her face went pale. On the screen, they walked into the shed. The talk went on. Process assignment, debt issues, divorce. Tobias was placed in care. Serena was let go. The northern factory, the farmhouse torn down. Hazel stood still while her own voice explained how I signed the agreement because I trusted her. I paused the video. How long? She whispered. Since the bear broke the fence. That was before breakfast. Yes. Her legs gave out. She fell into the chair. You knew when you asked about Tobias and Serena. I wanted to hear you lie without a recording between us. She looked sick. You let everything go on. I tried to find a legal way out. You could have faced me and lost the farm by noon. I wouldn't have. I played the recording again. Hazel's voice said, he'll give up before the first hearing. I paused it. She closed her mouth. You planned this from the start, she said. No. At first I planned to survive you. You let me sleep by your side. You had already done worse to Tobias. She looked away. A real look of shame crossed her face for the first time. It didn't last. You can't prove fraud from a private talk. I have the original file, timestamps, your contract changes, process assignment papers, Gideon's ownership papers, and the medical record from Lance hurting Tobias. You hurt him. After he hurt an old man with dementia, you poisoned him and saved a witness in front of 42 reporters. Her eyes went back to the notebook. You'll still go to prison. Probably. That word scared her more than denial would have. "And so will you," I said. "For what?" "Trying to trick people, stealing trade secrets, hiding big ownership changes, trying to steal the farm by trickery. Depending on what the prosecutor decides about Tobias and Serena, maybe trying to use a vulnerable adult and bad work behavior. You're not a lawyer." "No, I hired one." Her face twisted. "Then why didn't you stop us?" "I tried to save the farm without becoming like this." I tapped the notebook. "I failed." Hazel looked at me. For a moment, we stopped pretending. She had betrayed me. I had hurt her. Lance had died. The farm stayed between us like something neither of us could let go. "What do you want?" she asked. I opened a drawer and took out a paper. I put it on the table. "A settlement?" She didn't touch it. "You said you wouldn't divorce me." "I won't." "Why?" "Because divorce makes a new fight. Property questions, spouse rights, ownership problems, public accusations. I'm done giving you fights to win." Her eyes looked over the first page. The agreement gave me every farm and business she owned. She gave up any claims on the process, records, tools, and land. She could keep living in her home and have basic costs paid, but only if she stayed quiet and did not challenge the property. She could leave any time. But if she left the agreement, my silence would end. "This is blackmail," she said. "So is the debt rule." "You're making me stay." "The door is there," I said. "You'll tell on me." "If you tell on me, that's not freedom." "No." She looked at me. I showed no softness. Neither of us were free. "You want me trapped here." "I want Tobias safe. Serena protected. The farm kept away from you. And me? I don't know what I want for you." That was partly not true. I wanted her to wake each day inside the life she once called small. I wanted her to see the trees gone and remember why. I wanted her to know that the man she thought weak had outlasted the empire she chose instead of him. But I also knew that wanting those things had made me someone I did not like. Hazel read the last page aloud. "What if the investigators find the poison without me?" "We tell them what they ask." "And if they take you away?" "The farm moves into a trust to protect Tobias's home and Serena's place. You get nothing more than what this paper says." "You planned that too?" "I learned from you." She pulled back sharply. I slid a pen toward her. "I want a lawyer who is not involved." "You should have one. The lawyer's contact is here. She does not work for either of us to finish this. She can help you." "You want me to sign today?" "No. I want you not to take the notebook or destroy proof while you decide." Hazel looked at the TV. Her own recorded voice played on the screen. "You have copies?" "Yes." "Where?" "In enough places." She smiled weakly. "That doesn't sound like you." "It is now." She picked up the agreement. Near the door, she stopped. "Did you ever think about letting me die?" I looked at her scar. "Yes." She closed her eyes. "Why didn't you?" "You asked me not to." "That simple?" "No." She waited for more, but I had nothing better to say. She left with the agreement and notebook. A week later, after talking with a lawyer, she signed. So did I. There was no sorry, no forgiveness, just two names at the bottom of a paper neither of us could break. By spring, the farm was alive again. Not healed, alive. There was a difference. The North Hills stayed bare in spots. New barriers stopped soil from washing away. Rows of young trees lined the old windbreak's path. They would need years to grow into what Lance had destroyed in one afternoon. Some damage takes a long time to heal. Some damage never fully goes away. The insurance company fixed our coverage after Gideon's final report cleared the claim about the bear and showed the building was done without permission. The money to keep things running started again. Lance's company was still tied up in court, but its claim against the farm fell apart because of hidden facts, bad actions, and questions about who really owned the work. My lawyer said the fight wasn't completely done. I told her, "Nothing on a farm ever is." Serena became the head of the genetics archive. The idea to make that job was mine, but she had the power. She controlled the records, the copies kept somewhere else, who could see them, and the money to keep the archive safe. No investor could touch the archive unless she said it was okay. When I offered her the job, she asked one question. "Do you trust me now?" I said, "Yes." She waited. I added, "I should have trusted you before. That matters more." She accepted. She never asked me directly what happened in Black Canyon. Sometimes she looked at me as if she already knew enough. Tobias started coming back to the lab in March, but only for a few minutes at first. He would stand near the door and ask if Lance was there. "No," I told him. "Good." he said. Didn't like him. Some days, when he felt better, he helped check the samples. Other days, he just sat near the warm tanks and listened quietly to something no machine could hear like he did. The bruise on his face went away, but the fear took longer to leave. Hazel stayed. She could have left. The agreement didn't lock the doors. But leaving meant giving up the farmhouse, the money help, legal support, and my promise to stay quiet about the plan. She had no job to go back to at any company. No Lance. No rich life waiting outside the gate. So she stayed. She worked where she was needed. At first, she complained about every job. The boots, the cold, carrying heavy feed bags, the smell inside the barns. One morning, I found her standing by a wheelbarrow with mud on her face. I have degrees, she said. So does Serena. I dealt with big contracts. You dealt with one too many, I said. You like this? I almost lied. I like that the work gets done. That's not what I meant. I know. She pushed the wheelbarrow toward the lower barn. Her wrist still hurt when it was cold. Her ribs had healed. The scar near her temple stayed. People online still remembered her fainting on the red carpet. They always would. Sometimes strangers drove past the farm slowly, hoping to see her. We put up privacy fences along the road, not to protect her pride, but to keep Tobias calm. Hazel and I lived in different rooms. We ate together only when Tobias needed a regular schedule. We talked about money, repairs, appointments, and legal letters. Nothing more. The marriage existed only on paper, because paper was the strongest thing left between us. One morning, I found her in the kitchen, holding an old bottle of Royal Reserve. Lance had almost used it all up. Hazel held it carefully. Tobias still asks for this, she said. I know. I should have stopped Lance. Yes. She waited for me to soften my answer. I didn't. I thought you would always forgive me, she said. That was your mistake. No. My mistake was thinking forgiveness meant you could not hurt me. I looked at her. That was the closest she ever came to understanding. What was yours? She asked. My mistake? Yes. I took the bottle from her and put it back in the cabinet. Thinking hurting you would bring back what you took. Her eyes went down. Neither of us spoke again. Outside, Serena was checking the spring archive tags. Tobias stood beside her, his old veil worn backward. I walked onto the porch. The hives were busy. Thousands of bees flew across the morning sky in lines that seemed messy, but made sense once you saw where they were going. The farm belonged to us again. By law, it belonged to me. But in every real way, it belonged to the people who refused to let it disappear. Hazel came outside carrying a bucket and headed toward the barns. She no longer wore fancy clothes. She no longer talked about size, image, or becoming something bigger. From far away, she looked like any farm worker starting a long day. That was the life she once called too small. Now it was the biggest life left to her. I poured a spoonful of spring honey into warm water. It was safe, clean, made from the first good batch since the storm. I drank it. The sweetness came first, then a slight bitterness from early plants. Tobias used to say bitterness did not mean honey had gone bad. Sometimes it showed the bees had lived on whatever they could find. I stood on the porch and watched Hazel go inside the barn. I had protected Tobias. I had protected Serena. I had kept the farm. Lance was gone. Hazel had lost everything she tried to take from me. By every important measure, when this all began, I had won. The honey still tasted bitter. I drank it anyway. Maybe that was the last lesson. Getting through betrayal does not mean you are not hurt by it. It means you refuse to let someone else's choices ruin the good things you still have. What do you think of Owen's way to respond? And do you believe Hazel's outcome was fair or just another kind of hardship? Thank you for staying with this story until the end. Hold tightly to your pride, but remember that the greatest victory is not just beating those who hurt you. It is keeping safe the parts of yourself they could not take away. For more stories about betrayal, its results, and justice that comes from struggle, subscribe to Infidelity Director and join us for the next film story.